Right. Good morning, everybody. It's a Wednesday. It's government reopening day. I hope you all are very excited. And yes, we do need to close our fucking borders. Everybody does. That's the way it's going to work going forward. And there's a lot of great things happening all around the world. I know that it's hard to see that sometime, but we're going to try and go over a lot of it today. We're going to start off with the U.S. economy, just like we normally do. Good morning to Chad. Good morning to Todd, Manny247, J-Duff, Matt Nintendo. So how'd you get into the U.S., Matt? How'd you go from the U.K. to the U.S.? All right, let's keep going, though. So I said we need to start teaching our college kids how to compete instead of how to hate America. So Jason, somebody who I rarely agree with from the All In podcast, said we don't have certain types of talent, and we need to import them to train Americans, which is 100% correct. Let's not try and spin it. I know a lot of people, a lot of MAGA people, a lot of normal Trump supporters have been shitting all over President Trump for the 50-year mortgage and for his comments about H-1B visas. I disagree with those people. I voted for this. We're doing a lot of great things again, we've locked down the borders for 6 fucking months. We got nobody coming in. At the same time, the H-1B visa program needs to be modified heavily, which it already has been. We're going to go over charts with that today. But we can't hire Americans because they're going to a bunch of liberal fucking colleges and getting stupid fucking degrees and learning nothing and being indebted for the rest of their lives. That's the American dream right now, and that's the educational system as we see it. So until we start, removing transgender studies and telling people that men are women in college and start focusing on actual fucking science and things that matter in STEM, we need to import people from other countries. That's just the way it is. It's the reality of the world that we live in. And so I hate to do this, but I agree with Jason. Good morning. Did you see the news on EOC? I did not. Is there more news on it? I haven't bought this company. I don't know. Maybe I'll nibble on a little bit of it. I do like the fact that their sourcing is really good, and it's very much made in America. I like that part. It's a good narrative at the very least. Share your thoughts in ASST. We'll be doing that. I'll be doing that before market open because I want to give you guys an idea. I want to talk about the warrants. I want to talk about the good. I want to talk about the bad. I want to cover it all. So we'll do that. This is China's official data. So what is this? Michael, my German brother from another mother, said, wait a minute, aren't we shown all these beautiful illuminated skyscrapers at night in China every day on X? Are they empty? What's going on? Yes, they fucking are. This is China's overtaking the U.S. has stalled out over the past decade. Ratio of China's GDP to U.S. GDP in dollar-related terms at market exchange rates. Kind of hard for China to lie about this, even though I did say, hey, they hide 90% of their economic data, so that's probably why you're not aware of this. But their GDP, China's overtaking the U.S. has stalled out over the past decade. The ratio percentage is not much different than it was in 2014. You can see where the climax was. It was right after the pandemic when everybody was buying goods in China. Then it fell off a fucking cliff. Now it's disintegrating. So China is not the next best thing. I hope you guys understand that. I hope you get it. Silas, hey, buddy. As long as you can pay the 50-year mortgage off early, which in the U.S. you can. I don't actually even care about that. But yes, you're right. You shouldn't have some kind of penalty for paying off early. That's 100% true. But again, if you're going to buy a property and stay in it, getting a 50-year mortgage, especially if we can get rates down, if you could get something like that in a 4, even though, again, people will make the comment, oh, it's going to be higher. It's going to be higher because it's a longer term. Yes, it probably would be. 25, 50 bips, sure. But if you can lower your payments, even if it's by $500 a month, you can invest that money and do something better with it. And that's the thing that people don't realize. But also, housing is unaffordable. We have a lot of things we have to do to fix this problem. But just look at this. Buying a home in 1985, median household income was $23,620. It's went up about 3x, 200% over that time, right? From 1985 to 2025, a period of 40 years. When we look at median home price, it was $83,000. Now it's $468,000. So you have a 3x increase on that, and then you have a 6x increase on the actual purchase price. This is unsustainable. We have to fix our fucking money. We have to make it to where the lower end of the spectrum, of the wealth spectrum, is doing better. That's why we need $2,000 checks. People look past things really quickly. They bitch about everything. Everybody is an armchair cowboy. Everybody is a backseat driver when it comes to what Trump is doing right now and what should happen in the economy and what things should pass and what shouldn't. Everybody's got different fucking opinions. I think this administration is doing really well. Trump might not always really articulate that well. That's just a problem that he has. Mark Moss said, only an idiot would do a 50-year mortgage? Really? Let's do the math. Let's use a $500,000 home with a 6% loan and then run the numbers. And what he's talking about here is, yeah, sure, you might only save a little bit, but if you reinvested that money, you would make a ton of money. And so, again, that's the whole point. It's lowering your expenses while building up the wealth that you're generating going forward. This is very, very important. I think it's interesting to note right now that we have 7 out of the 12 Federal Reserve members supporting a 50 bip rate cut for December. Let's jump over real quickly and see what that looks like on the CME Fed Watch tool. I don't know that that's going to translate into here yet, but again, we've got really strong odds of a 25. December is about what it is, 2/3 saying a 25 bip cut. I think that's good, but I just wanted to show you that post because I wanted you to be aware that Stephen Moran is having an effect on the Fed and their decision making and getting other people to flip. Silas, many countries you cannot get a multi-decade fixed loan in the UK. Exactly, right? Like Australia, Canada, UK, you get adjustable rate mortgages, and those people got absolutely fucked after the pandemic when rates were raised really quickly. We're lucky to be able to lock shit in the United States. It's a blessing. It's one of the many things that make us great. Matt Nintendo, you know what's funny? I left London and fell directly into my down East New York. You're in New York, you poor fucker. That's some shitty luck, bro. All right, real quickly, I want to show the difference between the I think it's the Hang Seng or whatever, probably Shanghai versus it's their major markets, right? The S&P equivalent between the United States and China. Let's just see if you invested $5K, what does it look like over time? This is from 2011 till now. I'm going to fast forward it. I'm going to kill the music because I don't want to get any weirdness, but let's just fast forward this bitch. Again, blue, S&P 500, and it's the MSCI in China is the red. But just look at this. Look at this. Where does your money do better? It's very apparent to me. It's very, very apparent, right? It ain't in China. It ain't in China. Here, I'm going to jump. Again, look at that. Just remember where you're putting your money. Don't forget the Treasury General Account. This is actually a little outdated. It's got more than this now. It's got over $1 trillion sitting inside of it. Kobayashi's points on here, though, I do want to read them. He says the TGA, the Treasury General Account, these are the guys that spend the money, right? That's what the Treasury's job is the U.S. government's main checking account at the Federal Reserve used to hold and spend federal funds. It has now risen by $666 billion since June. As the TGA rises, it makes short-term borrowing in the repo market more expensive. So again, we've had a reduction in liquidity because of the government shutdown, and because the TGA has been refilling, and again, quantitative tightening, all these other things. All that's going away. We're looking at QT going away. We're looking at the potential for a QE injection. We're looking at another 25 bip rate cut, and we're looking at starting to spend money. We're talking about CleanSpark. We will talk about CleanSpark more. I am interested in CleanSpark. I'll probably buy a little. I'm not doing options anymore, guys. I'm done. The only options I'm doing, I need to follow my rules, okay? The only options I'm doing right now, I've still got some Mara ones, and I've still got the CleanSpark ones for November. I think they're going to dust. But I'm going to buy probably some stock today. But I won't be doing options for those. The only options I'm going to have are TLT, because it's a hedge, and ARCG, because I've got this stuff going out to 2028 in some cases, okay? So TLT is going out at least a year to January 2027, and I've got strikes of $95 and $100, so they're pretty low. It's easily accomplished, right? And yet I can do a 10x the underlying. So if this thing goes up 25%, which I think it can for TLT, I can make, I can make, let's say this, if it goes up 20%, I think I can easily make, a 200% return, maybe even 250% return off that money, and maybe even 300. So So that's why I'm doing that. And then Archie is a no-brainer. It's been down and out for a very long time. People are starting to get interested in biomed. When you look at this chart, you can see we just back tested a trend that went all the way back to 2022. And now we found support on it, found support on the first fib, and we're starting to go higher. I feel very good about Archie's potential of getting up at least to the $40 range over the short term, and potentially, hitting the next fib at 50. And maybe if we get euphoria heading into the beginning of this next year, maybe we even start to see this thing run. Because you got to remember, a lot of sectors, guys, AI has really done well. Mag 7 really done well. Palantir really done well. Again, HPCs off of AI. Iron's really done well. Quantum computing really done well. The stock market has done great. Gold done great. Sitting at 41.27, could still go higher, right? Could still go higher. Looks like it actually probably did bottom right over here. You can see peak volumes and you can see where it's bouncing. Maybe it goes up even higher. I doubt it. I think it starts to roll over. But you got to remember, this asset, guys, is over $20 trillion. A little bit of this rolling into Bitcoin would be a beautiful thing. And I want to show something real quick here. Oh, let me get this back over here. Sometimes my dragging abilities are not very good today. Let me just show you another chart. This is the Bitcoin versus gold chart, the ratio. Again, this is bear market shit right here. Nothing has happened with Bitcoin. And there's other charts I'll show you with this. Lisa Lu's talking on CNBC. Nice. But you can see how, again, we found support at the perfect place. Looks to me like a W bottom. The measured move for this W bottom, if it ends up happening, right, is going to essentially be the distance of the W. So what I'm saying here is I think we can easily jump up into the 30s on the Bitcoin to gold ratio and have some kind of spike. And again, if we look over here, I'm just going to draw a quick line. Maybe we do have resistance. Maybe this channel over here is some form of resistance. But I would say that there's a pretty safe chance that we get up into here and maybe even up into here before we end up going lower. And so I think that's going to happen. We talk about bigger containers flowing into smaller ones all the time. I think that's what we're looking at. Let's jump back over here. I also want to check Insight. Tom Lee did have some notes from the other day. First time I've seen a video from him in a while, which I love. 1 second here. We'll just see if he's got anything else. Otherwise, I'll play that video. Let's give you an earnings update super quick. Commodity breakout worth paying attention to. Interesting. Overall, 84% are beating estimates. That's down 2% from where we were at one point, but again, by a median of 6%. So we're finishing off very strong. On the top line, overall results are beating estimates by a median of 4% and by missing by a median of negative 3%, and 76% of those reporting are beating estimates. We're going to talk more about that in a little bit here on why earnings can continue to outperform. Bro is too busy buying ETH dip. Who, Tom Lee? That's possible. You saw that Tom Lee and Tom Nash. Oh, it was so good. I don't know if I reposted that, but I got to talk to Tom or Nash. I got to send him a message and tell him he did a really great job. We chat every once in a while, but it was very impressive. Very good video. Let's look at Tom Lee, though. So this is Monday at 8:14 p.m. So this isn't including Tuesday, but let's just see what he had to say.
Hello, everybody. Today is the 10th of November. It is.
That is not Tom Lee. Where's Tom? He's in here somewhere. Maybe we don't have another new one. We'll look at Mark Newton in a little bit. I don't want to focus so much on that. If it's not Tom and I'm missing it, I want to move on. I said Scott Bessent is so brilliant, and then I pointed out ARGT. So this is Scott Bessent doing an absolute smackdown on MSNBC. Yeah, we can listen to Mark. Maybe we'll just do that and look at his most recent video. This was amazing. This is so good. Let's watch Scott Bessent just tear these fuckers apart about our Argentinian swap line.
Amid this discussion of costs and prices and affordability, how does a $20 billion bailout of Argentina help Americans? You're the president's point person on that. Can you explain to those here who are feeling the pinch, including America's farmers, why the United States is helping out Argentina?
Well, do you know what a swap line is?
It's currency swap, yes.
Yes, but what is that?
You're the Treasury Secretary.
Yes, but why would you call it a bailout?
That is how.
In most bailouts, you don't make money. The U.S. government made money. We used our financial balance sheet to stabilize the government. One of our great allies in Latin America, during an election, the president there won in a landslide. The government's going to make money.
We want Argentina to be a democracy that's closely aligned with the United States. Before Trump was elected, they said, we're not going to work with China. We want to work with the United States in a democracy. We want to work with Donald Trump when he becomes elected. They took a lot of risk for us, and we should give that back. And we're up on our fucking investment with Argentina. Imagine if we start helping overthrow all of these. Colombia looks like it's probably going to get a right-winger in there. Bolivia got a right-winger in there. There's a bunch of countries that are flipping to the right. We should embrace that. We should help support that. And we should make it to where we're doing tons of business with them so that we can make the Americas great again. I want that for us. I want that for them. It makes no sense that the only real trade that we have with a lot of Central and South America is drugs and things that are destroying our economy. Why wouldn't we fix that for them and make it to where they're safe again, and Mexico and Colombia and all these other, Venezuela and all these other places that are just horrific, run by dictators, run by communists, or run by people that are in bed with the cartels?
And I would rather use peace through economic strength than have to be shooting at narco boats coming offshore if the government collapsed. We have a generational opportunity in Latin America to create allies. We just saw an election in Bolivia. We're probably going to see an election in Colombia. We've seen them in Ecuador. We're going to see them in Chile. So by stabilizing the economy there and
showing that these other countries, hey, we're willing to invest in you and support you if you head down the right path. Why wouldn't we do that? This isn't like investing in the fucking Middle East or starting wars in the Middle East. This is cleaning up our fucking backyard.
Making a profit, then that's a very good deal for the American people. And there's a lot we could have been doing for American farmers, but Democrats closed the government.
100% true. I love Scott Bessent. He's one of the best in this administration. Definitely more eloquent than Donald Trump most of the time. Dr. Paul Christensen, I don't think investors are prepared for the wall of liquidity that will be coming into risk assets after the House votes to reopen the government Wednesday afternoon. I am. I also want to talk to this, and I might even sell a little bit of this today, okay? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if I will. I might just add as other things go up, because I do want to increase this. I want to at least get to $500,000 on TLT. I said I continue to be reassured in my thesis of TLT calls being a good hedge to downside risk in the markets. And I do feel that way because yesterday these things were up about, I don't know, maybe like 5-6% on a day where TLT was up about 0.46%, right? So I'm getting about a 10x on average, the underlying. I said, why am I reassured? Scott Bessent and others in the administration continue to indicate that they will be printing T-bills, these are shorter dated bills, over longer duration bonds. They don't want to do 10s, 20s, and 30 years right now to fund the government because the interest rates are too high, and that just increases our debt load over time. Do the shorter issuance, watch the debt load go up a little bit higher than it normally would with shorter issuance, fix the economy, lower rates, then start doing the longer end of the curve. That is the game plan. That is what's going to fucking happen. And if that's what's going to happen, then TLT is going to be a good investment. Let's keep going here. I said the reason is to ensure that bond yields that are on the longer end of the curve stay low in order to ensure we're starving them basically, that they aren't having to pay out higher rates for years, if not decades. Think about it this way. The incentive is to lower rates for government debt, real estate, and more in order to reignite the economy. And the old saying, show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome, I believe holds very true here. How many people actually looked at this fucking post? I mean, it's subs only, 86. Not a lot. It's probably the last time I'm talking about TLT on here for a while. I said, note, there's a video from Cross Border Cap talking about Jack Farley. He's great. About his recent thoughts, probably the best video. Anytime Jack is interviewing Michael Howell from Cross Border Cap, you should listen to it. Jack is brilliant. He understands the subject matter really well, and therefore he does a really good job with follow-up questions and trying to get real good answers out of Michael Howell. Not everybody does that. I said probably the best video I've seen coming from Michael Howell because Jack is so good at follow-up questions. Yeah, okay. Because he can understand and get to the root of the conversation and impacts of the markets and the economy. I would highly recommend you watch it. But if you don't, I'll do a summary later. I'll include a link in the post below this one. I said back to my point, TLT is doing well today and historically has done really well in the past when the stock market's dropping. The only time this was different was during the pandemic because our government was just so mismanaged. So what am I saying right here? Over here, during the pandemic, our government was so mismanaged. We were printing tons of fucking money. Nobody believed that the government was ever going to be able to repay its debts again. The narrative was China good because everybody was buying cheap Chinese crap as we were locked in our houses. We were very dependent upon them. And we got up to here, right? Because we just blew out, or I should say this, it's coming up here. So we reached our top over here at the start of the pandemic where TLT had just blossomed and done really well. And what I'm showing on this chart here, guys, all these arrows are 20 to 33% moves to the upside. You can see how often they happen. It's usually once every year, once every 2 years, right? Well, we've had a dry spell recently. We had a couple that were just reactionary bounces, and this one's probably like 15%. We had some reactionary bounces, but we finally hit the bottom here. We're finally starting to see higher lows. And we're getting ready to break through a bunch of zones. And we have the perfect alignment where we're looking at, yes, Matt Nintendo, yield curve control, helping bring down rates. We're going to see a ton of that. And because that's the incentive, we have to do it. We have no other fucking choice. And if you don't think we have tools in order to be able to do that, you're just dead wrong. So we know we can do 20 to 33%, right? We know that. We can see it. We know that it's going to happen usually every 1 to 2 years on average. Well, we're way down at the bottom. We started up here. Now we're down at the bottom. We're sitting at right now, I think around 50% drop from where we were at. And we have a breakout zone with volume over here on the right. That's just beautiful. It's a beautiful trough at $110. And I'm telling you that you can get some insurance and you could straddle it. You could get in different ranges for different time frames. I've got stuff for as early as June. And then the beginning of the beginning, January 27th, I think is my longest. But I have stuff, and I might even have June. I don't know. I'd have to look. But I've straddled it out over a couple of different time frames. I'm varying from $95 to $110. And I think that this is a beautiful hedge play because, let me just read out the rest here. Historically has done really well in the past. The only thing that's different, pandemic was mismanaged. Now let's just look at that though. So what happened to TLT when we started printing tons of money? It just fucking cascaded, right? Just went down like crazy. We got a little bit of a resurgence in the stock market, and bonds came back along with that. Again, normally they're inverse to each other. Normally stock market go down, bonds become more valuable, right? The yields go down, but they become more valuable. Why did the yields go down? Because people buy a lot of them. The more bonds you buy, the more the yield goes down. When a yield is going down, TLT is going up. So it's a little confusing if you don't understand the bond market. But basically, if we're going up, yields are looking more attractive for the 10 and 30 years and 20 years. And our economy is doing better, right? Or I should say this, we're trying to make it better because it's fucking horrible. And in the process of that, we're going to give ourselves a brighter future for tomorrow. Because again, we're lowering rates, we're removing debt, or lowering the debt that we're having to pay. Right now, our interest expense on debt is much, much worse than our defense budget. Our defense budget is like $850 billion. Our interest, I think, is over $1.2 trillion, maybe even higher. So we got to fix that. This is happening. I think this breakout is very much happening, and I think I can make at least $2 million, $1 million on a decent drop, just a normal drop in markets. And even if it doesn't drop, I think I can make $1 million with 333,000 invested, or 350, I think right now, maybe a little more. But if for some reason we get a major drop, I think I do better. And I'm going to add to this. Let me look at comments real quick. Mark Newton's great. Yep, we'll look at him. Sometimes FS Insight does. Okay, yep. Poli, you're in Argentina. Ted Petey. J Duff, I'm also down big on SMCI calls. Would love to hear. I don't know how impressed I am with SMCI. A lot of people are making the narrative that they just don't have the margins because they don't do anything really proprietary and unique. They're just a builder, so they do well with they benefit from the build out of all these data centers, but they don't have a lot to offer. I will say this. I think that's partially true. I do think that the stock has gotten really slammed. This was a steep fucking drop, going from 58 down to 37 or something like that, 38. 58 to 38 is a hell of a drop. Your options are going to get smoked. That's just the way this is. From a technical aspect, though, this doesn't look bad. This is a bullish pennant. I still think the game could be on. I haven't spent a lot of time because it's a smaller position for me. I probably need to go back and revisit and listen to the earnings call. I did not do that on this one. So I'll probably try and do that, maybe even today, and get a better beat of the company. What I wish I would have done, Micron. We talked about Micron on here. I did research. I knew it was going to be good. I just never acted on it. And sometimes you do stupid shit. This was my stupid shit, right? We can get rid of this. This is just kind of showing a trend. I should have done this, because if you look, just go back here from April of 2025 at the bottom, when the tariff concerns were everywhere. This thing was at $61. It hit 256. This was a much better play. But I do think technically SMCI can come back. What I need to understand is the fundamentals, if there's any hope for them. If they have maybe some proprietary shit that's making their setup so much better than everybody else's, just something that gives them a unique value to where their margins can expand. That would be the best thing. But I do think the build-outs are going to keep happening like crazy. And they did have, at least with their quarter, I believe they had some revenue that was having to be pushed back because they were it was something to deal with the company that was buying from the vendor. So I think some of that is going to be seen next quarter. It could be a better quarter. Hopefully that gets us back up to 112. Because again, we've gotten up to this fib. What we really need to do is, and we can get up to this trough around 65 pretty good. I want to see a run to this 112 range. We'll do much better if that happens. I might add to that position, but I need to do research. Jesse, are you not concerned we haven't had numbers because of the shutdown and your predictions? I actually hope the numbers are bad, right? Because that looks good. Bad data, especially when it's data that we missed, it's behind us. And so I hope it's bad and that it encourages the Fed to cut rates even more, because we got to kind of miss some of it by that dark window. So I'm okay with that. And I actually do think jobs are already getting better. I think it's just if you're an illegal immigrant, or you're a part-time worker, or somebody that's having to work multiple jobs, there's aspects that suck, but I think that we are seeing growth, and we're going to see a ton of it. The stuff Trump is doing, when you're building out manufacturing and you've got people investing in the United States, you start doing some hiring, but the real hiring happens when the place is spin up. It's just construction hiring with AI as far as Capex right now. But again, will be and a lot of the jobs initially when you're bringing in foreign work, and I think this is kind of what Trump was alluding to recently, is that the jobs are initially the foreign people that are building out everything, right? If they're investing in the United States, they're doing the build out. They're the ones that are good at it, or it's their fucking company. You know what I mean? So we don't get a lot of the benefit of jobs. It's when these things start spinning up where we really get it. And again, don't forget, guys, we made our first magnet in 25 years last week. Let's fucking celebrate that shit. All right, let's keep going. TLT, note one, keep in mind, nope, that's just those notes. I'm going to see if there's anything else here. I would argue that with us down 50% from the 2020 high, we're in a good place for a bounce, especially with gold already running 171% from its 2022, from its late 2022, I should have said low. So as Bitcoin goes higher throughout the end of the year, I'll be adding to this position in order to hedge to my downside risk. So guys, again, I've made huge changes in my portfolio. I think I can do 10 to 20x here. I think this thing can run 20-ish%. If I'm getting a 10x, I'm happy. If I'm getting a 15, I'm even happier. Great fucking hedge, in my opinion. All the incentives are there. Think about it. Watch this Michael Howell video. It's so good, guys. And it's a little hard to understand, but again, I'll try and summarize it and use an AI to summarize it, and then probably throw in my own 2 cents so that I give you guys some idea of what it all means. AST diluted is about 2x MNAV. I think it's about 1.65. I want to say, but we'll go over some of that more in a second. But they're unique. They're unique, and as people are selling out of their ASST, they're getting paid. and then they're able to reinvest that in Bitcoin. And I think there's been a decent amount of that that's happened here recently. I think we're probably at 5 or 6% of the warrant issuance too. But again, they only last a year. We only have 11 months left. But I think a lot of people are going to try and sell out of those when they think we have any kind of tops in Bitcoin. So like in the bottom right, if we get up to 128, probably going to have people selling out because they're going to be worried that for some reason this megaphone pattern isn't going to play out, and that'll be another top, kind of like a triple top or something like that, right? So there could be people worried about that. So they might start bailing here around 125 out of ASST. But again, more might wait for at least 146 or even higher. Tom Lee is still saying high, not low, above 150, higher, like 160, 170 at least for Bitcoin by the end of the year, because of so much liquidity in the wall, I think, of money he believes that's going to flow from gold and flow from other assets into Bitcoin, because the stock market's already done so well, and we need to see a broadening out. We're way too tight right now with market breadth, and we need to see a broadening out, and that things are getting better. And there's a lot of things that are getting better. Let's just look at this real quick. Deflation in shelter is inbound, I said. Why? Because Nick Gurley, he's Super Bear, says U.S. apartment rents see steepest October decline in more than 15 years. Let's just look at some of this. Some of this is Austin, which is great. Suggests there would be more deflationary pressure in housing and economy than people understand. I love that. We want that. We want deflation in housing, and we're deporting all these fucking illegal immigrants. I got stats I'm going to show you guys that say that we have forcibly deported over 500,000 illegal immigrants from this country already, and we're ramping that. You can shit on Trump all you like. He's not the most eloquent person in the world. He's not probably the highest IQ motherfucker in the world, but he has a gift of understanding the talent of other people and which ones get it done and which ones don't. And he's strong. He's a powerful man. He drops fucking bombs on nuclear facilities and mountains when people tell him it's going to start World War III. And then nobody gives a shit and it's all done and we fucking win. That's the character of this man. So I want to remind you, I think inflation is going down, and this is good. This is good, and you're going to see more of it. And it's going to be a combination of building, maybe 50-year mortgages, a bunch of other shit, right, to make it to where we can prosper and open up this market and have incentives for sellers to sell. That's the biggest thing right now. The 50-year mortgage does not fix that, okay? I mean, it kind of can. It can make it a little bit cheaper, but what we need the most is for sellers to be okay to sell, and that's lower fucking rates and more housing being built. Because if we do that, we're going to be pulling shelter down, and if we're pulling shelter down, people are going to refinance. They're going to do HELOCs. They're going to do home equity lines. Why are they going to do that? Because they want that excess money. They're going to be like, hey, maybe I need to invest. Maybe I want to do some stuff right now. This is the highest my value might be for a while. I should fucking enjoy this. We should spend some money. We should have some fun. We're getting older. Baby boomers are not getting younger, man. The average age of a homeowner is way too high. We're going to talk about all those things. What do I think about alt season? I think it can still happen. I'm not taking a lot of risk on it. Kirby Tax, Jesse, as we get closer to the warrant expirations at the end of the year, won't that put, no, not the end of this year, next year. Buying pressure on ASST, it's next year. The warrants end in 11 months. So the selling pressure, am I reading you right? Jesse, as we get closer to the warrant expirations at the end of the year, won't that put buying pressure on ASST? So the warrants get executed at a really good rate. And so no, I don't think we're going to see a lot of buying pressure. I think we'll see buying pressure from Bitcoin's price going up, and I think it will help absorb a lot of selling pressure that people might be issuing with warrants. But we could have something weird with ASST where it's acting like BMNR kind of has, where it's just kind of bled out. And BMNR's got Tom Lee behind it. Strive has an amazing team. I might even do just a standalone video to walk through it, because I think a lot of people aren't watching the videos that they're making or don't understand the content. I'll try and go through some of it today. But I think it's really good. And I think BMNR is really good, but I got fucked out of the treasuries. One of the many mistakes that I've made this year. The fact that I'm doing as well as I am is shocking, considering how many fucking mistakes I've made this year. But we could see the Bitcoin treasuries, they bled out, right? They fucking bled out. Like look at Metaplanet. I mean, this isn't a great representation because this is Japan, so it looks Like they ran for a long ways, just like MicroStrategy. But this thing was $23 a share. It is $238 now. It's down 90 fucking percent. The Smarter Web was that way. It's finally starting to bounce. But there's a lot of treasuries that aren't even going to come back. I don't even think it's going to take the bear market to do it. I actually think Strive's going to buy those fucking companies. And I think their growth rate is going to look really sick, probably sicker than Metaplanet's, even though I think Metaplanet can do really well. And I don't know what's going on with Smarter Web again, but I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing. Maybe I buy a little bit of this today. Maybe I buy a little Metaplanet. Maybe I buy a little bit of this. Maybe I buy just a little bit of BMNR to have any exposure to Ethereum. But these are just going to be nibbles. They're not going to be a shit ton. And I'm going to ride the wave for a while and then get out. Lol, I have like 500 Metaplanet. Treasuries killed me this year. What do you mean by treasuries? Did you buy treasuries? Yeah, if you did, especially if you got in a 2X fund, you would have just been decimated. So I believe that if that's what you're talking about, but maybe you could elaborate a little bit more. All right, real quickly though, let's keep going. So again, shelter's coming down. We like that. That's not bad. The White House explores executive order targeting proxy advisor influence. This is fucking awesome. If you love Tesla, if you just want to get the stupid, DEI woke ass bullshit out of the boardroom and have it to where our board members are making decisions that are good for their fucking companies and not to meet quotas of people that aren't as qualified as other people because they don't want to hire white people, okay? That's the gist of it. Let's just be real. They don't want to hire white men. If you're like me, you're a dodo bird. It's a good thing I'm an investor, right? Because nobody wants you. But this is good. So we're looking to counter that. And Strive, ASST, is looking to counter that as well, right? And they've got some unique vehicles like SATA, which is not... It doesn't have a grade yet. It doesn't have the C- or whatever that MicroStrategy has. MicroStrategy guy, STRE. Oh, good stuff happening there too. We got to talk about it. But they're cool vehicles, okay? They're cool vehicles. Yeah, hit the like if you would. I appreciate that. But the White House is exploring basically making it to where company or investment funds like BlackRock have less power and individuals have to vote those shares instead of BlackRock just being able to make broad sweeping measures where they'd fucking decide shit like that. Fuck that. That is not the way America should be run. We don't need megacorp, dark room bullshit going on where the woke left and George Soros can decide how companies are run. Fuck that. These guys have infiltrated our schools, our corporations, our police departments, every part of fucking government. We are taking it all back, okay? And they ended the filibuster on judicial assignments for a reason, right? They wanted to get all these bullshit judges in so that they could redistrict and so that they could do the shit that they're doing to Trump right now. We will fight back. We are winning. If you stick around to the end of this video, you're going to see how much. All right. Evan said, this is why Democrats making housing prices a major effort for their 2028 campaign is unlikely to make a dent and help them win back voters. So again, you can talk about affordability, but when it's all your fucking places that cost so much and then other parts are better, it's going to be harder, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Housing affordability does need to be better. We need to be the ones that are preaching that. And we're going to be, because we're going to be rolling out a bunch of stuff. We're going to be rolling out a bunch of stuff. So you can see them talking it all out in social media. This is what Trump does. He socializes it to see if it's popular and if it'll make sense. And then he figures out, okay, maybe the 50-year, put it at the end of the queue, doesn't have the best short-term impact, gets really bad press. Let's get a bunch of other wins on the table first and then figure shit out. And Pulte, who's the head of housing, he's been talking a lot about that. We'll go over some of that too. Shelter inflation is going to continue to drop. Rent decline drives steepest October drop in 15 years. I think that was a part of the other one. Elon Musk said, literally, I realized, so Casey Handmer said, I realized the Doom graphics engine running on a pregnancy CPU test, or a test CPU, and this is a joke, right? It's a really old graphics engine, and it's a really pathetic CPU, could handle all of North American traffic control. I'm going to sit down for a bit. Elon Musk said literally, what do you need to know from this? You need to know that Elon Musk will get the contract to completely remodify North American air traffic control. This will also be a part, and I imagine it's going to be run by AI, We shouldn't have people looking at screens that are getting paid too much that could go on strike. We don't need all this bullshit. We need to replace them with computers and have people overseeing those, but they need to fucking replace this shit. SpaceX is going to be the company to do that. They're also affiliated with the Golden Dome program, which is going to make it to where we militarize space. And that's a scary thing, but it's also a beautiful thing, because if we do it, the mutually assured destruction that goes along with that is also high. Everything that we can do as a deterrent is a good thing. Yes, we'll talk about SATA, Strive's version of STRC. We'll talk about that. It's basically it's higher paying with more risk. But if people are interested in that, it's a great opportunity. They've created a formula where they're going to try and keep it in that $100 range with precision. I like what they're doing. It's unique. Even people like Michael Saylor have talked positively about it, and these guys have the backing of the United States government. They got Vivek in there, JD Vance, Peter Thiel. I mean, like, everybody's invested in this. All these people know each other, and they're going to work really hard to make it a success. And I'm sure if there's any Bitcoin treasury companies that are failing right now or not looking good, Strive is going to be one of the first companies that they call. Lisa Abramovich, company executives have mentioned economic slowdown and synonyms at the slowest pace wait a second. Wait. No, guys. Retail investors are supposed to be dead. The world's supposed to be falling apart. And yet, for some reason, executives aren't talking about an economic slowdown. It's the lowest level since 2007 over here. And that doesn't mean that 2008 happens. What it's saying is nobody fucking cares. Lance Roberts, now again, we need to pull back sometimes and not be too bullish. I think we're definitely going to get that end of the year rally. Maybe if it even goes into January. A lot of the times it just ends at the end of the year, and then we get a retraction in January. But Lance said, another look at the first half of the current bull market cycle that started in 2009. Now, did it start in 2009? If you're Tom Lee, you don't believe that, but if you're Lance, you do. He said, U.S. equities, the secular bull run is extended. So again, boom. So what time frames are we looking at here? This is in the right near the beginning of the 40s, this is the start of the Great Depression right here, right? For valuation. Over here, we're looking at kind of the 60s, where eventually we headed into the 70s and it was all shit. This was all shit in the 30s, guys. The reason this was bad is because we did nothing to stimulate the economy. We didn't back up banks. We did everything fucking wrong. We closed off our economy to other parts of the world. What did I tell you in April? When everybody was worried about Trump tariffs, I said he's using these as leverage. He's using them as income and leverage to be able to save the United States and get us better deals. He said this. He literally said this is why we're doing it. So it was scary. The numbers were crazy. It looked like what he was trying to do is cut us off from the rest of the world. But that's not what fucking happened, is it? We got better deals with every one of these fucking countries, including China. And now we're having them invest in us. So not only do we have better trade terms, not only are we making revenue from them that we weren't making before, but we have better trade terms than we had before. And we have them building here. These are all good things. This is nothing like the Great Depression. It's nothing like 1929 and on, where we went from the roaring 20s to just the absolute fucking worst. It's more like we've had a really bad problem, and maybe we'll get some hiccups in the road, and we'll have some 30% retraces at the beginning of the year, or maybe Q1, Q2. But then we're probably likely to do really good again because we're doing all the foundational things that require that. So again, I don't think it's like this Great Depression time at all. And I don't know that it's like the 60s because I don't think oil is going up anytime soon. I think we're seeing a genuine slowing of an economies around the world, but we're doing the right things. We're working on fiscal responsibility. We're working on stimulating. We're going to back our banks, and we're doing everything to make sure that we're putting jobs back in the United States. These are good fucking things. The dot-com bubble, it's obviously not the dot-com bubble. I was a much younger person in the dot-com bubble. I won't say a kid, I was a teenager, but I was fascinated by stocks because my dad did something like that, right? He was very interested. His execution wasn't as good as mine, but he was very interested in it, and he had really, really innovative ideas. It was just a matter of getting it done, right? But at that time, pets.com, nothing but worth a valuation that would blow your fucking mind. Everything was like that. You could have a .com and you could start a business and people around you would invest in it. Everybody did that. Everybody did that, okay? And it was such bubble territories. Tom Lee talks about it. He got basically shunned and yelled at because he was like, I don't want to do more IPOs. I'm worried about what's coming next. And so that man saw the fucking top. He's not telling you there's a top coming right now. So I don't think it's like that. And we're up at high valuations. We're in that danger zone again. And maybe we do have a retracement, but I think it's going to be shallower. Jesse, do you ever sell covered calls? Not really. It's not really my jam. I might in the future. We'll see. If you want covered calls, who does that? Oh, God. In chat, guys, who's good at covered calls? I haven't really stuck around in that area for a while. Oh, I got to move my little Bitcoin thing. It's way out. If you guys got somebody, throw it up. Building is how you achieve affordability. Austin shows it. So these are rental prices in Austin. You can see in USD terms in 2022, halfway through, people were paying $1,850 a month for a rental. And now, what are they paying now? For rental rent, we are down to $1,350. So they are saving $500. They're down almost 30% over that time. And then nominal rent is down a little bit less, but still looking good. And best answers? Yeah, he might be a good one. There you go. Jake. Yeah, Jake's pretty cool. Jake's a good guy. Amit. Thinking of Amit as an option guy is weird. But maybe. I haven't followed him enough to know that. But I do like Amit. He's upped his game a lot. All right, real quickly, I want to listen to Hassett. Let's listen to Hassett talk about the $2,000 tariffs, because everybody kind of forgot about this because the 50-year mortgage thing came out.
Because of Biden's inflation, which averaged 5% over 4 years, that people on average lost about $3,400 in purchasing power, and they've gained about $1,200 this year, but there's still room to go. And so we're making up ground fast, but the fact is that people are still down about $2,000 relative to what their purchasing power was when Joe Biden took office.
So they got a ways to go.
And so we understand that people feel like there's an affordability problem, but we're closing the gap fast.
Oh, yeah,
and
TJ,
with these policies and potentially, rebate checks, we might close the whole gap really, really fast.
Okay.
Because
so again, so people are doing better. We are getting wages back to where they need to be. We have more work to do. We're doing it. Bitcoin's at 105K. Fucking awesome. James, Invest Answers, great guy. I do think TJ is probably a really good one to follow. I like TJ. I just like him as a person, too. He's kind of a part. I don't know if Amit hangs out with him as much anymore, but he's kind of a part of all that crew. Hermes Lux, I don't follow him enough for covered calls to be able to say that, but that looks like another name that you guys mentioned. Bar chart, only 26% of S&P 500 stocks have outperformed the SPX over the last 3 months, one of the worst market breadth readings since 2020. So I want to point out something here. The end of the bear market was December of 2022. So we're at levels, first off, they're higher lows, but we're at levels where these marked pretty good bottoms. And so I want to reiterate, this might not be bad, right? This might be a counter indicator. It's probably a counter indicator telling us that now is the time where market breadth is going to increase. We'll take a look at TJ. Yeah, he's a good dude. Victor Hernandez is something you might see him jiggling around on a camera because he's trying to vibrate some weight off and stuff, but he's working hard, but he's a good dude. It's a little weird though. So if he's shaking when he's talking, that's why. Victor, and for my Spanish car, for my Spanish ear, I love his accent. Also Jesse's accent. Thanks, Victor. I've never heard of that. I'm going to have to go to Latin America more. My wife actually has family in Panama. They're good peeps. Zero Hedge, U.S. Treasury to auction $110 billion in 4-week bills, $500 billion in 4-week bills rolling over every month. Again, we're doing these shorter dated. This is monetizing the debt, or this is monetizing right away, all this money printing. And so this is just juicing the markets, and it's going to happen a lot. We have Berkshire Hathaway. He did his last letter. It's kind of an end of an era. I don't look at Warren as being like this amazing person though. Like he made money off of like insurance and Coke and just a lot of different things. But he was kind of ruthless too. They're like, oh, hey, he gave a bid to the markets. And that's probably true. He did functionally do that. But like the deals that he made were rough. And it was like if he was acquiring your company, you got fucked in the ass. But you're right. He did buy. He does buy. He's a buyer of last resort after the market goes down a bunch. So that's helpful. And he's got $382 billion sitting around. But but I don't know. I admire him in some ways, but then I also go like, why wouldn't you be investing in companies that really make the world a better place? Why wouldn't that be your primary driving focus? And maybe that's just where that wasn't where the money was back then, but it is now. So no excuses anymore. $5. Thank you very much. Adam Bergman. Oh, Adam, he's such a great dude. I haven't, does he, Palantir 3030 sells millions each year. Does he, yeah, I know that's more of his specialty. Does he have a YouTube still? And does he use it? I love the Spanish accent at the end of certain words. Yeah, me too. Thank you. I'll check out. I feel good. Buffett's main claim to fame is longevity. The dude has been, and he invested. He did a good job, right? Like he plays the slow game. He's got $382 billion. When we do have a major economic downturn, his company will buy half the world. It's just how he works. And so that's when he'll do really good and start to outperform, and everybody will talk about that again. But Warren Buffett won't. You won't hear that. He's 95, guys. He's done. Jerry, health will be the new wealth. I agree with that. That's one of the reasons why I'm so excited. Yeah, that cancer died. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. We'll talk about genomics a little bit too, but I do believe health is wealth, and I think that sector is going to do really well in the future. Kobayashi letter. Breaking. China's exports contracted 1.1% in October, the first decline in 8 months. This was significantly below the expected 2.9% increase. Shipments to U.S. plunged 25%, marking the 7th consecutive monthly drop. Again, their margins are getting destroyed. They're having to export to other countries. Even those are starting to roll over. If you look, slump in U.S. demand drags down Chinese exports. It wasn't just that, though. It says total exports are in black, right? But if you look, U.S. exports actually started to tick up, even though they're very much in the negative. The rate is starting to turn around. But look what's dropping now to the rest of the world, right? The rest of the world is dropping now. So these guys are just absolutely fucked. Tempest AI, huge potential. I need to look at that more. I'm a member of the group, but I haven't spent enough time on it. $20. Wow, big timer here. Yeah, me, Law. I'm Palantir. Oh, you are? Dude, you got to stop changing your shit, bro. You got to stop it. All right, with being in the Discord, that's more on me, right? I'm not in there very much. I just put out my charts, and then people are able to talk together. But you got to stop changing your stuff. We both have things to work on, Adam. 99% of these sellers on YouTube are BS. I agree. So yeah, check out Adam, guys. Do you still have your channel? And if so, say it. All right, let's keep going. Rising house costs since 1990 are responsible for 13 million children not being born. This is a huge problem. Our money is broken. We have to fix it. We have to fix housing. We have to get people having fucking kids again. We have to give them hope in humanity. People shouldn't fear. You shouldn't wake up each day and be like, is the world just going to fall apart and should I just give up? Adam can't shill himself. He's too good of a guy. And we shouldn't live that kind of life, right? We should be positive. We should be looking with inspiration. We should be looking at Tesla. We should be looking at SpaceX. We should be looking at the Boring Company and Neuralink and all the other great things going on in this fucking country, in this world. And we're going to go over a lot of it today. 70% of mortgages are below 5%. This is why we're hung up, guys. You can see the collateral damage. We've talked about it so many times since 2021. We created this problem where we locked these bitches in at low rates. Look at how many people here, just going up to less than 6%. Look at this. It's over 60% of the market. So with rates being higher than that now, you're not going to free it up until you get rates lower. We know that's where the incentive is, and we know what happens with incentives, right? Jeff, last week the market achieved something last seen in 1999. The S&P 500 beat the S&P 500 quality index by 11.5% over the prior 6 months. When this happened 26 years ago, the snapback was violent. What they're saying is we're in 1998 and we're getting ready to hit 2000. Possible. Either way, we know that we had the same kind of problem a very long time ago, and that this is record downside against quality stocks, right? And so this just shows that the big guys, it's kind of like market breadth. It shows, I think, a contrarian signal where we're going to go up a lot. Yeah, if you have a 2.75, I mean, you're locked in so good, you're never going to want to sell that house, right? That's the downside. Unless we get down to 2.75, you're going to be like, I'll probably keep this one either way because it's so cheap. And I don't really like, my payments are going to be so much more if I go into anything else. So it's a massive problem. For you to move, it's either going to be that you have to, or that things get close enough where you're like, yeah, We're good. We're getting close enough where I don't care as much anymore. I've made a lot of money. It's time to make that move. So we got to bring rates down, and we got to make people money. Ryan, lots of panic out there, but don't lose faith in November yet. S&P 500 up 10% year to date heading into November. November higher 13 out of 14 years. So basically the odds are super in our favor that, like 92% odds that we're going to see a good time heading into the end of the year. To 5% is the new normal. Yeah, I think actually they're going to get under 5. I think they're going to get under 5. I think you'll see 4s. Maybe even lower than that. Again, the incentive is to push low. Darren, by the way, thank you, Adam, for starting my investment journey with Palantir. Dude, Adam actually probably started my social media presence more than anybody else. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Adam was the very first fucking person who called me out on X and who helped turn my account into what it is today. So I'll always be indebted to Adam. He's an all-around good guy, and he's helped me a lot. He's just awesome. And I'm glad he's helping you too, man. Yeah, Palantir, Hood, Hims, all things we made a fortune from. And Adam is a big part of that. Treasury Secretary Besson, I want to listen to this real quick. This is talking about in helping people with their wages, I believe. Let's listen. Affordability. That is the name of the game. That's the message that's going to be going out.
I think that the tariffs help consumers because we are able to, if you go back and look,
that is
we have brought down the budget deficit. And MIT came out with a study that said that 42% of the great inflation was caused by the big deficit spending. So as you bring down deficit spending, inflation will come down. And the tariffs, right now we take in substantial tariff income. Over time, that will rebalance as the factories move to the U.S., and that will become the corporate income or wage income. And by bringing down the budget deficit, we are bringing down inflation.
I love that, and I totally think that's true. In addition, tariffs will bring manufacturing back over time. Yes, this is the thing that operates with a delay, which is why you push this out first. This is why you drop tariffs hard in April, so that you can start negotiating deals and get deals that benefit the U.S. economy and get people building here. That's why it's awesome that they did it, but then you got to build the shit, and then you got to spin it up and get it running. And that is all happening right now, guys. There is a lot of money. It's not the numbers that Trump says. You could pretty much cut those in half the time. It's like 50% of whatever he says will probably get you pretty close. But to like the more realistic value, he's a salesman, man. What can I say? But it's happening, and this is going to be great, and it will bring up corporate income, margins, and real wage growth for American workers, and that's great. Here's Pulte, guys. This guy is the U.S. Director of Federal Housing. He's the one that probably got Trump to tweet about the 50 years. That probably didn't turn out too good for him, but he's got a lot of other ideas too, and he said that. So I don't doubt that at all. Victor, he was also the very first talking about Hims. Yep, I agreed. Yeah, he was. Mike Sicardi, both B of A, capacity expansion, Capex as a percent of revenue far outpacing depreciation, more room for depreciation to rise from here. So what he's saying is we've got the Capex boom, and we've got the ability for these corporations to be able to write this shit off on their balance sheet for a while, which should help continue the expansion. I think that's what he's saying. Let's see what Grok thinks of it too. Excuse me. Voice is still a little rough. Grok is being a little slow, but I love the way this works, man. Just looking up all these different instances. We're going to talk about AI in a second too. B of A's chart below, divergence implies rising future D&A expenses as assets depreciate, which could pressure near-term margins, but reflects sustained capacity for growth. So what he's saying is margins might compress a little bit, but their growth will look more solid. Yeah, I think this is good. And let's see, recent analysis, including 112 billion plus combined 2025 CapEx estimates, frame this as a multi-year tech build-out. I agree with that 100%. Tom Lee's right. With replies noting Microsoft's AI focus and potential tax extensions on equipment expenses. Again, all that stuff is happening. So yes, very much so. Diet Coke makes my world a better place. Thanks for the share. Silas, or 40-year. Adam's X handle? Adam, what's your X handle? All right. China Commerce Ministry suspends 2024 ban on approving exports to the United States of dual-use items related to gallium, germanium, antimony, and super hard materials. So I think they're going to work to make this difficult. China sucks. We'll call their bluff and we'll threaten tariffs. We'll force them to move on everything. Bar chart said U.S. equity risk premium is now negative. So again, I think this is another good reason for a rotation. I think we have a good reason for some gold rotation because the vessel has gotten really big. 171% in a period of a couple of years is a big move for gold. We also have equities so highly valued that on a risk-adjusted basis, they offer zero return to investors. Now, I think we're in more of a parabolic world where you should be more optimistic about this. But at the same time, I do agree that we are overextended. Chris said House of Representatives voting at 7 p.m. Eastern to end the shutdown. Yeah, yep, exactly. And then once that goes through, we're good probably for a Senate because it's really going to be the Senate approving it. And I don't know, is the Senate happening tonight, Chris? Otavia, or Otavia. The Chinese central bank is about to surpass the Fed to become the largest central bank in the world again. The PBOC has officially resumed quantitative easing, and I believe it's only a matter of time. Dude, they've been printing so much fucking money. They're printing at twice the pace we are. This is not good for them. This is not good for them. The fact that we've done better and that we're actually bringing ourselves back under this for the first time since the pandemic is good for us. The fact that we're not having to print at the rate that they're printing at is good for us. But it's a very bad sign for them because they've just been printing and accelerating and are starting to ramp and look like they're getting ready to go parabolic. And again, I don't know that I believe all of this, that PBOC assets and money printing didn't happen since 2020. Again, we get a lot of their data is lies and they don't print. Over 94%, I think, of the economic data in China has been suspended. And so you're only getting a tiny view of what goes on in their world, and it's not good. Silas, is recovering rare earths from used products through recycling just not viable? Lots of old electronic junk. I think it probably is somewhat viable, and I think we're going to be doing it with car batteries. They're the biggest, right? They're the easiest thing to do it with. And then eventually mega packs and other stuff. And there's companies like that. What is it, Sherwood? Or I can't remember. What was that one that what's-his-name created that came from Tesla? Galaxy OP, Jesse, what would it take for you to turn bearish? What would it take for me to turn bearish? It'll probably take time. It would take, you know what it would take? Honestly, what it would take? This administration is doing all the things right that they should be doing to be able to accelerate the economy. So I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about the fact that we could have a small trough and then we start going up. What I would worry about is if Democrats really start winning. Are they starting to win in the Supreme Court? Are they starting to win at all? And they're not winning, and we'll talk about why in a little bit. In every way, they're really losing. And even Mamdani, I think, is a loss in the end because I think it's just going to hurt them. But if we started to see Democrats winning a lot and if we saw real inflation taking over again, but I think we've got so many things pulling that down that we're going to be safe for a while. And by the time inflation starts to roll up, I think people are going to be so excited about like the ISM manufacturing survey and other things that it could keep us going for a while. And again, maybe we get a trough in the beginning of next year before we really start to take off. I think that's my bull case right now, or that's my base case and bull case. But if we start to see real out of control inflation, which I don't think we're going to see, and we see Trump not being able to do the things that he needs to do, and I don't see either one of those things happening. Peter, we're going to look at a few things from him. He said, make mortgage rates assumable. Who cares if the big banks don't like it? He goes, banks can buy and sell your mortgage without restriction. We should be able to do the same. Kind of agree, but there's a lot of complexities. I won't go into all of them. How do you feel about the Supreme Court stopping the tariffs? I don't think that's going to happen. I actually think that that's not going to happen. But I do think that Trump is positioning himself to where he's probably making deals behind the scenes where if that does happen, they're going to use some other way to be able to continue with them and then keep it tied up in court. So I don't see us, and I just don't see it happening. If he gives $2,000 checks, then not only does the Supreme Court have to say, yeah, the president of the executive branch shouldn't have control over tariffs. He can end all diplomatic relations with the country, but he can't impose a small tariff when the other country's tariffing us. It makes no sense, and I don't think it's if we go back and look at the Constitution, I don't think it makes any sense to make the argument that he doesn't have powers to be able to implement tariffs when we have drug trades that are killing so many people in the United States, that he can't implement tariffs when we've got basically a foreign hostile country like China that is weaponizing this area against the United States. And we can see that. They even showed their hand more recently by saying that they were essentially going to cut off rare earth elements, and then later backtracking that. They showed their hand. We know they're hostile, and we know that he's the head of the executive branch. If he can end all diplomatic relations with China overnight legally and not have to worry about going to the Supreme Court, then I think that he should be able to implement some tariffs across the board to make America stronger again. And maybe he can't keep the tariffs for smaller countries where we don't have direct arguments. But I do think he's got a plan B. He's already indicated it. I think he's probably going to win, or at least win in some portion. Macro Polo, tariffs have been since the beginning. And again, if we issue $2,000 checks based on the tariffs, then they're going to have to be like, they're going to have to think about that too. Like, what are the impacts of a rollback? And is this constitutional enough? And remember, the Supreme Court, guys, no matter what noise you hear in media, over 90% of the judgments that they passed, I think it's like 92, 93%, have been in favor of Trump in the second term. Wanted to speak to this real quick. He said, Stock Market News said, this is historic. Retail owns the risk. Households are holding 52% in equities, up 25% since I think the GFC or the dot-com, whatever. Dot-com bubble. So what he's trying to say here is there's so much risk and we're doing so bad. But I'll argue we're not like the dot-com bubble. I won't say that why again, but again, I just don't think we are. Our debt are at record levels, like going all the way back to the 80s, right? We've got really low levels of debt. We don't have a lot of cash, but that's been true. We actually have about as much cash as we had at the low end of the spectrum, going back to like 2005, 6, 7, 8, 2000, maybe like 14, 15, all the way over to 2020. We just don't have that much cash. But as long as companies are still making profits, margins, even if they start to contract a little bit, if the growth looks like it's steady, I think we're going to continue to go up. All right. And I wanted to talk about H-1B visas. So to be clear, Trump is doing things right. Okay. So H-1B visa holders right now the FHA, the Home Buyers Association, loan locks to immigrants without permanent residency. So if you're a visa holder and you don't have permanent residency, you're not getting loan locks anymore. So they're making it more difficult for these people to purchase homes unless they're an actual U.S. citizen. So we're doing things that we need to do, okay? It's not everything that people want it to be all at once, but we're doing things that are making it better, including what we're doing with benefits and things that are tied with visa programs or with people that are here illegally. There we go. Worrying about that the billionaires with their AI are taking your jobs narrative holds. A realistic counter argument or reassurance plan is advisable because jobs will be lost by 2030. Yeah, I agree. And we're going to see that, right? The $2,000 check is part of that. It's basically to say, hey, we're going to offset, we're going to rob from the rich, we're going to give to the poor. I think that's enough. I do want to cover a few more. I want to play this real quick. Just in regard to government layoffs and jobs. I think this is an important one.
Layoffs soared 183% last month. That was triple the previous month. In fact, it was the worst October for layoffs in 22 years. Yes, worse than the 2008 financial crisis. Are we done with the whole jobs thing? The numbers come from outplacement firm Challenger Gray, who reports October layoffs came in at 153,000. That's nearly triple September's number, and it brings year-to-date layoffs to 1.1 million, which is up 65% from a year ago and the worst since COVID. And it's probably not a fluke. Last week, payroll processor ADP reported just 42,000 jobs were created after 2 months of falling jobs. So what's driving it? Mainstream media really wants it to be Trump, but there's a lot of good things happening under the hood. For starters, the biggest layoffs in October were government-funded contractors and tax-funded NGOs, cut off from taxpayer handouts, and now the government shutdown. NGO layoffs alone are up 419%.
So this is what we wanted, right? This is what we signed up for. We fired a bunch of fucking people from the government and through NGOs, and they lost their fucking jobs. So of course the jobs data is going to look weak. We wanted that anyway. We want the dollar to be weak. We want oil to be weak. We want energy costs to be weak. We want the jobs level to be weak, and we want inflation to be weak, and then we want to boost all that shit. That's what we're doing.
Together with contractors, they are almost half the layoff surge. The other big one is IT, where artificial intelligence is gobbling jobs faster than H-1Bs can steal them. Finally, media. I've done videos how mainstream media is in free fall, drowning in their swamp of lies.
Yep.
Hollywood's down by half since COVID. Left-wing news.
We showed the media, right? We showed how that stuff had been cut in half. They're just dying. All these organizations are going away. X is becoming the new news source.
Newspapers and cable TV are down closer to 70%.
70%.
Aside from AI chowing down on IT and warehouse, it's feel-good stories, government workers, NGOs, and media. Finally, the biggest feel-good story of the year, deportations. DHS says 2 million illegals have already left. While this is great for taxpayers and crime victims, it hits layoffs because that's 2 million fewer people going to Wendy's, getting haircuts, getting their teeth fixed with your tax dollars. So given all this noise, normally you would look at indirect numbers like quit rates, so people quit their jobs when they think that it's easy to find one, or work weeks, companies cut hours before they cut jobs. Unfortunately, both are paused in the shutdown, so we are driving in the dark. So what's next? Brought to you by I Trust Capital. Even with the noise, the headline.
So again, I think what he's saying here is a lot of the weakness is coming from the fact that we fired a bunch of government employees and got rid of a bunch of NGOs. That's a good thing. We're also seeing media weakening. We're seeing other areas, IT weakening, for good reasons. They're the areas that get hit first. We will see weaker data with some of this job stuff, and that's okay. That's okay to have. It gives us another reason to juice the economy. And if inflation data is coming down good too at the same time, it's going to be great. Again, Pulte, the director of housing. Home builders are sitting on 2 million empty lots. They need to build on these empty lots. Or they need to start building on these empty lots. What we need to do is create incentives for that. We need to deregulate and we need to create incentives. That's what they're working on right now. So don't ignore the noise, focus on the signal. Ryan Detrick, the dual tailwinds to this bull market will continue to trend higher. We've discussed about higher profits and higher profit margins for more than 2 years, and now a reason this bull market is alive and well. No signs of slowing down. So again, forward earnings expectations still rising. Look at how much they're rising. And then margins continue to expand, again, at a nice clip, looking good. There's nothing here that looks bad right now. And Ryan says only 3 times in history have the AI bears outnumbered the bulls by 10% or more. 1990, 2008, 2022. Bottom, or like 10-year bull market, bottom, very long bull market. 2022, the bottom again, and now we're seeing it again. And again, average home age is 40 right now. It went from 31 in 2015. This is fucked up. We need to fix this. The old people need to sell their homes. Let's get rates down. Peter Thiel, it's extremely difficult these days for young people to be able to become homeowners. So everybody, guys, everybody is seeing these problems. Peter Thiel is an advisor for the government, along with many, many others. He said, if you have extremely strict zoning laws and restrictions and building more housing, it's good for the boomers whose property keeps going up in value because you can't get more buildings, right? So they make a bunch of money. So boomers are passing laws in the government at the federal level, the state level, and the city level to help with their own interests, foregoing that of the young youth that need to have an opportunity as they die off. And so again, this is a problem. We can fix this with a lot of different things, and we're going to do that. Let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many more things. We're going to skip for now. I think we're done with the U.S. economy. We're going to jump over to Bitcoin. Earlier this year, JC Peretz, I don't know who this is, only 183 likes. It's free, so drop one, brothers. Yes, please. That'd be great. BitcoinTreasuries.net, just in, $15 billion investment. Bank TD Cowen says strategy will buy 6,720 more Bitcoin following its $719 million capital raise through its new euro-denominated perpetual preferred stock stream, STRE. He is literally going to become the bank of the world. And this is a nice chunk of Bitcoin getting bought up again. I think we're going to start seeing Bitcoin treasuries getting bought up by companies like Strive, and I think we're going to see MicroStrategy pushing out their preferred offering all around the world. This stuff's coming. Julia said Bitcoin is still at a bear market levels against gold. This is just another way to show it with a rainbow chart, guys. We are at bear market levels. So again, historic bottom levels against gold. The chance that we at least get to the top of the green, if not up into the blue and into the pink, is very, very high. Timber for the dollar, I said. Cantonese Cat showed U.S. dollar index breakdown. So what I've been saying for a while and what appears to still be on path for today is that the dollar is hitting resistance over here and it's getting ready to roll over. That does appear to be true. Again, we've chopped here for a while. We did try and test above this range that was previously support. We're rejecting off of it. The next path is to test down. If we can break past this 100, keep going down, there's a pretty good chance that we're going lower. If the dollar goes lower, Bitcoin goes higher. There's a lot of other reasons for that. But if we just look over here to 2020 and saw what happened when the dollar started rolling over there, and we saw dollar weakness, we saw Bitcoin go up. We're right at that same point again. It's good stuff. Sellers exhausted. Exhaustion constants. If you look here, we're at levels, and if you go back through this chart, it marks the bottoms, okay? If they drew the line straight up, you'd see it. We are at one of the most oversold levels, and this chart goes all the way back to, it's kind of hard to read, but like way back. It's like 2013 or something. I don't know. It's way fucking back. And we're at one of the worst levels ever recorded. So again, good contrarian indicator. Merlin the trader talking about Ethereum said 2020, 500 to 300, 2025, 5,000 to 3,000. Kind of interesting that we're doing this consolidation zone in there. Again, you can kind of fractal everything, but I don't know. There's some truth in here. The year separation is a little bit tighter down here, so indicating that it's a longer cycle. But he could be right. I don't know if I see the Ethereum just going up straight for years, but it does seem like the 4-year cycle is dying. Dan put, I don't do this a lot, but I'm short-term calling for a crypto pump in days and weeks. Watch this PMI chart, business cycle closely. Again, a lot of people are starting to talk about the ISM and the business cycle. We're now at the confluence of short-term and long-term liquidity. Shutdown ending equals liquidity shock incoming, nearly $1 trillion sitting in the treasuries account to flood back into the economy. Again, part of that. PMI, Purchase Managers Index expansion, business cycle turns, confidence spikes. Again, we're at lows in a lot of things that are in regard to the economy. We want to see a bounce. That's what we're going to be seeing. That's the short-term catalyst. The long-term one is QT ending in December, and we've waited years for that one. Not even talking about clarity, market structure, ETFs, QE, so many other things getting ready to flip bullish. Long Investor has been really good this year, where I have not been as good. He's been more like Mike Alfred. He said, my brain cannot comprehend how people are struggling with this, but I do agree. Getting into 6,000s in Ethereum is probably very possible. Jake W., he's great. I don't like his membership. It's $10, so I'm not subscribed to him. He said Bitcoin, and now here's your bull chase going into the second half of the month. And so what he's showing here is that we're seeing a divergence. I think he's doing our MACD divergence here, or histogram, my bad. Histogram divergence, where you're seeing the price going down, but the histogram's pulling up. It's a good oscillator to show that we're getting ready to bounce. SoFi first bank to offer buy, sell, and hold cryptos. Yeah, that's cool. And again, they're an actual digital bank. They don't have physical locations. Alonisys, no dilution as well on MSTR. Again, you got to love that. And that's what ASST is doing. And I think it's brilliant that they're doing this 12% preferred. And they're making it to where it's going to have a nice set range. They're doing a lot of the MicroStrategy playbook, but a little unique twist of their own. And again, they've got all these warrants still. Both these things are going to provide capital for them to be able to buy this dip and continue, I think, to rocket higher, especially with people like Mike Alfred buying it or backing it. Now, could there be a slowdown before their breakout? Maybe, but I think also this thing could end up going higher because I think a lot of the people that are holding the warrants think that they're going to go higher. And I think that's the big surprise, and that's probably where Mike Alfred wins. We'll see if that's true. Kirby Tax, Japan is mining Bitcoin with state-funded money. I just learned that. Yeah, right? Loss in crypto, so is China. Yeah, they have been for a while. BGZ, hey, we stole money. We stole Bitcoin from China. Isn't that great? Evidently, we stole 127,000. I hope that's true. We can just add that to our reserve. BGZ, the top will be when everyone in the chat starts locking on Zillow. Yeah, well, and everybody's just like, it's never going to end. That's the top. Bitcoin leverage has been wiped out. Spot accumulation is ticking up. Clean setup for forming a recovery rally. So you can see how you have these thicker, broader spots. And then you have selling, like whales sell. You got retail orders where they're selling. You've got small whale orders in green, and then big whales in deep green, and then normal in there too. Well, we've had a very long period of selling, and it's worn out. This is the according to the 4-year cycle, the crypto market is cooked. Or again, the 4-year cycle is just coming to an end. We're starting to run over that right now, and maybe it's coming to an end, or maybe it's going to mark a longer, prolonged cycle. Again, Bitcoin was doing 4-year cycles. A regular economic cycle can be 8+ years. So maybe Bitcoin's going to 5-6 years. It's very possible. Epping Council, last landmark legal battle at High Court to remove illegal immigrants. Nobel. I don't know how that one got in here. It's not a Bitcoin one. Bitcoin silent IPO is happening. So again, Jordy Visser talks about this on Anthony Pompliano's show and on his own channel. How we've had big whales selling. We had one sell $1.5 billion, I think, this week or over the weekend. And so again, you got some of these guys selling, but they're just selling off the pieces they want to, diversifying their portfolio, going and enjoying their life probably because they've been around a very long time. And they're going to be selling into retail. They're going to be selling into ETFs. They're going to be selling into countries that are buying or mining. And that's what we're seeing. And so again, I said, if this is true, we've got more Bitcoin than people thought. So again, 127,000. China's accusing us of stealing that in a hack in 2020. I hope we did do that. RS says, Jesse, is your portfolio mostly Tesla, ASST, TLT, Metaplanet now? There's other things too. We can look at that in a little bit. We'll go over the portfolio. Tesla is still the biggest. ASST's up there. TLT is definitely a large part. I've added Metaplanet too. CleanSpark has diminished greatly. So has Mara. So you're pretty much spot on with a lot of that. You're pretty accurate. Panamax, over 5 million BTC are now held at a loss. And ARCG is another big one. ARCG is actually right up there too. It's huge. And it looks like it's going to go higher. And that one has a really good asymmetric bet. And I think it could, if we get into irrational exuberance into the end of this year or in the beginning of next, and we get an extension of that, I think ARCG is going to make me so much fucking money, and it could still get me to my 12 million mark. Did you dump SOLT? I dumped all my 2X funds. I did that while they were still dropping. They could recover and do really well in the future. I don't want BMNU. I don't want SOLT. I ignored my rules this late in the cycle. I shouldn't have been holding short dated calls for CleanSpark. Should have got out of a lot of those. I just thought I thought we were in the ramp phase, and I didn't. And time is so important. You got to have time. And with options, it just doesn't make sense to be really heavy in options if you don't have enough time, years, hopefully at least a year to 2 years. And then at the same time, because then you have that asymmetric bet and you have a lot of time for it to play out. And you don't want to be in a 2X or a 3X that can just grind you to fucking dust. You don't want to be in that, because what happens if we get a couple week pump, or we pump into December, you're still in a 2X fund, you didn't get it out in time, and it's just fucking cascading. You might lose a bunch of your gains. And so I'm deleveraging. I should have done that earlier. Should have done that when I was around 6 million not too long ago. Now I'm probably all the way down into the threes, like probably upper, but still not a great place. And a lot of that is just CleanSpark just getting burnt and Mara getting burnt. Mara, I have into December. So I have over a month for Mara. That could actually end up being good. I'll slowly sell out of that and to buy into other things that aren't options. I think CleanSpark is dust. All right, so Panamax said over 5 million BTC are now held at a loss, a threshold reach only during market resets. So again, this is just saying that when you're at a loss, when these are high at a loss, you're at bottoms, and then you have upside potential, loss, bottoms, upside potential, loss, bottoms, upside potential. So it's saying we're at a really good place. Jack, it takes time. The independent and free currency is here. Mary said, I like the idea of an independent currency, but until I can use Bitcoin to put gas in my car. So Jack Dorsey is working on this. And I think he's doing a good job at it, and I hope more people do. Amit says, Jesse, I'm surviving with you. We're going to find the next solid play. Yes, I actually like RG. I really like TLT. And I think that there's other things that are solid plays. I own a lot of Tesla for a reason, but I want to become more conservative as we melt up into the end of the year. And I want to have money for cash. I want to be looking at the landscape, figuring out what still has to run. TLT has to run. RG has to run. Are there other things that have to run that are good opportunities? That's what our job is. So it's a combination of things for why. Oh, I wanted to talk about this. So this person said, why has Bitcoin done so bad? Why are shitcoins worse? Said it's a combination of things. Strong narratives around AI and energy keeping the NASDAQ strong, so it's outperforming. People sticking with the Mag 7 because of massive AI build-out and strong earnings. Honestly, earnings for a lot of larger companies have been great, with 84% reporting a beat of a median of 6. Maybe people are just buying stocks because they're actually doing really well. I said 3, most people that invested in crypto in the last cycle got utterly fucked. They've been fucked multiple times. Retail's been fucked a lot in crypto. Not Bitcoin, but crypto. They make a bunch and then it all goes to zero. Imagine some poor sucker that paid $1 million or more for a fucking NFT that nobody gives a shit about. And I said they're tired of buying shit coins and don't want to get screwed every cycle. This is why I think around April, right, when things started to get scary, I just sold my fucking shit coins right away. Right away. When we started to get a drop, I'm like, nope, tariffs are too high. Get rid of all the shit coins, because that is the thing I have the least confidence in. And I think a lot of people felt that way. And they're like, why not buy a Palantir? Why not buy Robinhood? Why not buy Iron? Some things that where they have a real world, like they're doing good. Or just, again, the Mag 7, they're really doing really good. They're making a bunch of money and they're performing. Why not give a real winner a higher premium than trying to find some shit coins that can 10x when I just did it with Iron? So I think they got burned and they don't want to do it. I also said gold has been acting as a safe haven. This is wrong. It was actually 171% over the last few years. And we have the IPO moment for Bitcoin. So there's a lot of things that have pulled us down, but I think right now we're getting ready to come back. And that's why I'm bullish. We also, there's so many things in here. Social sentiment indicator, non-existent for altcoins. And again, maybe altcoins do nothing this cycle. This is liquidity behind BTC starting to make a recovery. We like that. That's Willy Woo. We've got, again, a very different looking path for us. It looks like we're just kind of going up and to the right, not parabolic, but we're just finding an institutional bid. Remember that gold went up straight basically for 7 to 8 years, probably like 7.5 years after it got its ETF. So maybe that's us now too. I don't know. I'm not pretending to know. I know we're bouncing here, though. That I feel confident about. Bitcoin on exchanges, lowest we've seen virtually ever. And again, this one from Balaji is great. When it shows the S&P 500 in nominal terms, with gold, it's flat. So remember, gold is doing so well right now, but really gold is flat compared to the S&P performance for the just general S&P. And in Bitcoin terms, it's just cascaded. S&P's lost everything. Bitcoin is the safe haven. People will eventually realize that. Real quickly, AI and chips. We'll go to CleanSpark. We'll go to ASST. So maybe working with Core as a company that's already went bankrupt once was not a good idea. So this is the CEO of CoreWeave sounding like shit. You guys should watch this. It's really sad. They're working with Core as a company that already went bankrupt. Why would you work with them? You need to be vertically integrated. CoreWeave is still a higher valuation than TLT or than Iron. Iron's $15 billion. I don't even know what CoreWeave is, like 40 or something. So I could see them continuing to do bad and Iron surpassing them. I think they're a better run organization. JC, thank you for becoming a member. You can talk and chat. That's why you bought Bid Digital, says Gemini Knight. Gnome, Maytag, what's Adam's website? Alona says, let's talk ASST. We're going to do that in a second. Iced coffee, you can't print electricity, Iron and Cypher. What if the AI race, this is Financial Times, something everybody's unsubscribed to. What if the AI race isn't about chips at all? Maybe it's about energy and build out. I agree with that. It's all about the tools being used for it, at least initially. All AI is doing, all these guys that are buying chips right now are just creating a bunch of debt obligations or spending a lot of cash to be able to build out for the future so that they can be the winner in a race that will reward a handful of them very, very well. But it's always the picks and shovels that do the best. So it's going to be the Irons and the people that are building out the technology and the data centers that are going to do the best. Elon Musk, Grok is growing fast. This is so important, guys. 1.8 million ratings globally with an incredible 4.95 average or 4.9 average out of 5. If you haven't yet, please drop a review. We've got Russia's new robot. This is so funny. This is real. This is real. I'm going to kill that so I don't get some weird copyright thing. Look at this, guys. This is real. This is a Russian robot. Watch this. It's going to move forward. And they're so bad at this. This is like their big robot in Russia. At least China can walk. The thing just breaks apart. Watch when it gets up. So many broken pieces on the ground. Look at that. There's just broken pieces everywhere. Look at the guy with the drape. He can't even do that right. Welcome to Mother Russia. We don't have to worry about Russia, guys. Yeah, right? Joe Biden. A lot of people made that comment. We don't have to worry about Russia. So, I'm sorry. XAI has 5x ChatGPT-5's capacity. So, listen to this. Grok 4 just went superhuman with 2 million word context. Elon's Grok 4 Fast can now process 2 copies of War and Peace in one shot. The upgrade pushes a 2 million token count, 5 times that of ChatGPT, and boosts completion accuracy of nearly 98%. So it's better than ChatGPT, guys. And there's so many other things that show that. I mean, look at this. Elon says, imagine this in real time with an AI game generated by Grok. Like we're getting ready to see a world that's unfamiliar to us. Mike Alfred just said, hey, a quick reminder. I've been the only institutional caliber investor pounding the table on this issue for the last 6 months. Everyone else still thinks you can scale NeoCloud frictionlessly without controlling the physical infrastructure. So what he's saying is companies like CleanSpark, if you have the infrastructure, if you got the energy, if you can convert, if you're in the right place, if you got the contracts, and again, cheat costs too, and Iron's doing it the best, then you're going to win. And companies like CoreWeave are not. And CoreWeave hasn't even contracted with a good company. This is even more impressive. Grok 4 Fast delivers ChatGPT 5 level high performance for 5% of the cost. So with Grok 4 Fast, you can get ChatGPT 5 high performance for 5% of the cost. OpenAI is way too highly valued for what it is. Elon put try the Grok app. Again, people don't realize this, but you can do everything in here. You could do everything. The full build out is crazy. It's crazy. Grok can read, reason, respond straight from your uploads. I mean, again, just look at all these categories. 2 minutes to the bell. Love it. Probably won't listen to it. DRAM prices exploding. This is why I wish I bought Micron. I knew I should have, and I didn't. I didn't get options. I just didn't look at them. How retarded. Should have done that instead of SMCI, but I do believe SMCI can do well. Let's see what else we have. This is insane. The big four scalers. That's an old one. But again, just showing the CapEx expense. Hyperscale CapEx in dollars, in billions. It's fucking crazy. Alfred has also been hammering on the importance of uptime too. Yeah, that's always important with anything like that. Jesse, any thoughts on Nebius AI? I don't know enough about it. Mike Alfred's better. All right, let's go to ASST real quick. The bell we just opened up. Oh, I do want to talk about my portfolio real quick. Or I want to show this at least because I didn't know better places for it. I already talked about TLT. We're good there. Thanks, brother. Honestly, it's been a rough year for my portfolio. Oh, okay. That's probably not as interesting. Let's go here. ASST. So there's a couple things I wanted to talk about. A, again, we know there's really big players in it. B, watch this fucking video. I'm going to repost this. This is the Strive CEO talking about what makes them different, why they're going to bring alpha, not just beta, why they're not just going to suck up your money and buy Bitcoin, but why they've got alpha strategies like SATA and others that will allow them to be able to do really well. Watch this video about SATA. If you want to understand the company, it's important that you look at these things. And again, there could be downward pressure. There's a lot of warrants sitting out there. So we'll see if they can break away from that. I think they will. I don't think it'll take long, but I am going to diversify away. I'm not just going to be SATA. I'll probably, or ASST, I'll probably diversify a little bit of that. I might even get a little bit of BMNR, no 2Xs, and maybe some CleanSpark, and maybe some more MetaPlanet. Maybe a little bit of SWC just for the fuck of it. Strive adds 1,567 Bitcoin from their new preferred offering. Strive's. So Strive, again, this is doing really well. SATA, it's going up in value. And as it goes up in value, today it's at 93.75. They're trying to get it to that 100 level, might even go higher than that. They'll just be accumulating Bitcoin along the way, and it's going to work really well for them. They've got revenues, too. They bought Similar Scientific. Similar actually, some quarters, has positive cash flow and net income. Similar is a real company. They own that company now. Imagine buying a bunch of companies that have positive cash flow and or, hopefully, yeah, they should have positive cash flow, and or a huge Bitcoin stack, but it's at a discount and you can buy it for nothing. Mike Alfred, I spent the weekend. He says that he believes ASST could hit 1650 if Bitcoin hits 315. So I'd say under 10 is probably a good number. But again, we got downside pressure too that can invoke itself at different turns. Right now it's doing it again today. It's only up 1.84%. BMNR is up 2.88. None of them are really rocking, but again, it's not doing the best. Public company, again, they're at 14th now for Bitcoin treasuries. I think they'll be in the top 5 very soon. They've got massive short interest. You can see shares available to short down to pretty much nothing. I don't know what the latest tick looks like. If anybody knows in chat, throw it out there. Hey, buddy, a quick comment on your expectations for miners, CleanSpark, Iron. We'll talk about that in a second. So again, I won't go into all the warrant stuff, but I posted a bunch of that. So if you're a subscriber, you got it. Look at it. Make sure that you won't understand it. I do believe ASST can still do well. Just understand the warrants. And I've given you a couple of posts to be able to do that. I want to go real quickly back to CleanSpark. Jordy Visser has been talking about TER as a good play for DRAM shortages. Can you evaluate? I will have to. I'll look at it. I don't know anything about it, but I'll look at it. Because if Jordy's talking about it, I want to hear it. I think he's really smart. Loss in crypto. ETH has taught me patience is a virtue. I agree. Again, I'm not really in a lot of BMNR at all. I might buy just a little bit to have some exposure to Ethereum, but that's going to be it. Again, and it's no 2x. CleanSpark. So this is talking about their recent offering for the 1.1 billion. I think oversubscribed. Been thinking of what kicks, what quick wins could CleanSpark get with this note. They'll have 650 million, which they'll have to pay off the line of credit to eliminate interest, which doesn't change their liquidity of 670 million. So they can pay off some debt. They can buy back stock. They're going to do that. They've got their green space data centers can run 10 million per megawatt to build out. So he's basically talking about the conversion of these other data centers and facilities in order to be able to get it to where they're able to run AI software. I think that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to get themselves up to get a big contract. I think they can do it. And it says CleanSpark upsized to 1.15 billion. It's a 0% convertible. It goes back, I think it goes out to 2030. The closing 11/13/2025 is when it closed. 27.5% conversion premium. Share buyback increased to 460 million. But again, it's not like buybacks. My understanding from reading it is it's not buybacks. It's just OTC. It's not meant to help pull up the price. 150 million optional increase, 13 days of close. Proceeds 1.13 billion. 1.28 is full option as exercise. 229 is conversion premium of 130%. And I think the earliest conversion time frame. So again, you don't have to worry about heavy dilution now. Share buyback price is 15.03, which is actually at a premium to what we are 14 right now in CleanSpark. So power and land portfolio, they've got data center infrastructure that they're going to work on, repayment of BTC and general corporate. I think this is going to turn out well for the long term. I think it hurt them over the short term, which pissed me off because it fucking shot my options to shit. But I do think if you're looking for a potential, a fraction of the cost, Iron is about almost 16 billion, 15.16 billion market cap. This is 4.17. So again, you're getting like less than a third, almost a fourth of the market cap. So kind of a big deal. Great Madsby just showing how CleanSpark back tested really clean. I agree with that. So again, I've lost a bunch of money because of my timing on my CleanSpark's calls, but I'm still telling you, I think it's probably a decent buy here, and I'll probably buy some actual stock. Similar and AST merger has not closed yet. Yeah, elements of it have, but you're right, it's not completely completed yet. So the merger is still happening. It's still en route. What's the actual date on it? I don't even know off the top of my head. This is why it's down after hours. We already talked about that. So yeah, I think CleanSpark can actually do well. If you got January, you might actually do a lot better than I did. If I had December, I'd even hold it. But again, I just got fucked. My timing was bad. All right, let's keep going. Let me see here. Archie, do we have anything on that? Oh yeah, I do want to talk about this. So I said, imagine what kind of technologies and advancements can be created in the years ahead with AGI or AI. Maybe AGI too. So this is talking about cancer gone in 3 months. A new drug device melts tumors that resisted everything else. And again, Mark Zuckerberg is talking about this. I'll try and post that video, talking about how people are underestimating AI's ability to be able to solve problems like this, cancers and all kinds of things. Genomics can be a huge help. AI can help every bit of this, and I think it's going to. Bladder cancer that didn't respond to standard treatments vanished in most patients after just 3 months using a tiny, slow-release chemo device called TAR-200. So just the way that they distribute chemo, it's better for the person. It's not as painful and horrific. Instead of blasting their bladder with chemo for a few hours like the old method, this pretzel-shaped implant releases this gemcitabine, probably butchering that, nonstop for 3 weeks straight per cycle. It's working way better. It's not as painful. It says now 82% had complete cancer disappearance. Nearly half are still cancer-free after a year with barely any side effects. Less trauma. This should be fast tracked. This is fucking amazing. I could see genomics and I could see AI really starting to change things in the future within this space. Let me go out of here. Defense and war. I might check this real quick. Why can't China build a nuclear-powered carrier? They don't even have a nuclear-powered carrier yet. So if you're so scared about China, don't be. They can't even figure out how to do that yet. And so they don't even have any real presence outside of their local region because they'd have to refill their fucking carrier all the time. America has over 800 fucking bases all around the world, and we're adding more to be able to fend off Japan or fend off China and Russia, and we're going to be good at that. U.S. Army to build at least 1 million drones in the next 2 to 3 years per Army Secretary Driscoll. That's great. We've got, again, drones like this. This is an amazing drone, guys. I don't know if they show it in this video. They're just showing it land. This thing is a drone that can go in front of like other fighter-based, equipment. And you could have 3 of these. You could have 5 of these. You could have 7 of these. You could have a lot more than that. And they're all responsible to you. And then also, too, there could be other people that are working with you and your plane to help decide when to attack. Capital B DAT is up 12% today. Something going on? It's probably just incredibly oversold. King's Size Smile says, I've got 20,000 Clean Spark shares, so thank you very much. You did a good job staying away from iron, or staying away from options, which worked out better than this cycle. So good for you, King Size. Steak and eggs, thoughts on silver price at 52 an ounce? I don't know. I think that'll probably drop before gold drops. I just don't see the purpose. But imagine, guys, being able to have a fighter jet that has 5, 7, or maybe even 10 of these flying in front of it, taking out the bad guys and acting as counterfire, preventing you from having to worry about getting shot at while you're taking out and dropping bombs and attacking and doing everything else. These things can fly themselves now. It's fucking amazing. That's probably enough for now. Again, we're spending a lot on defense. This will all come out later on. You'll see this end up doing really, really well because of that. Let's see. I'm probably going to jump to Trump real quick here. I need to jot down that TER one. T-E-R. I need to jot down a couple of these. Real quickly, I'm probably going to jump over and let you guys listen to Kramer just for a second so I can use the restroom. So I'll be right back. Give me 2 minutes here, and then we're going to continue with Trump stuff. If you don't want to see this because it's political, that's fine. It's going to be short. It's going to be brief, and it's going to be focused on why we're doing a lot better than people realize and why we're winning and why we're not losing, and just making you realize that everything is going to be okay, because it seems like there's a lot of negative press around Trump right now, and he might not be a great communicator, and he might be a bull in a china shop. But I do think we get a lot of wins coming. 1 second here. Be right back.
I'm excited because of what I think the Fed will do, and I know the Timbers piece is very good about what can happen. Yeah. I think the economy is slowing rather dramatically. And let's not forget, by the way, we get inflation down rather markedly if Chief Justice Roberts decides that the tariffs are wrong. And he's a man of great courage. And
you think inflation would fall?
Yes.
You don't think the bond market would worry about a lesser ability to pay back the debt?
I think that the areas of inflation that I see are very much tariff oriented. And by the way, I'm pro-tariff. Don't get me wrong, but I also think that that Chief Justice Roberts and Gorsuch, you can't lose them. I mean, they're the guys. And I thought that the questionings by Gorsuch were such that it would be hard for me to justify thinking that he's going to go with the president. Yeah. These guys, I mean, remember, they're for life. You can't get rid of them. They're not buying mortgages on some sort of thing that people are going to investigate. They're real serious. I mean, I only know Dean Kagan, which was a friend of mine in law school. Yeah, a friend of mine in law school.
That's kind of cool.
And when you deal with the people who are smartest in the class, Roberts was the smartest in class.
Oh, let's see. What's Fox Business doing? Nothing too much. Just commercials. All right, let's go to these others and talk about wins. So first off, I'll talk about some fears. This is Orwellian. This person put, "Get me out of this fucking country." This is in the UK. It says, "Dear legal occupier, an officer has been scheduled to visit your house to find out if TV is being watched, recorded, and downloaded illegally." Can you imagine that? They're going to people's actual fucking houses in the UK because of shit like this in social media posts. And again, they're trying to make it to where they're locking down money, digital, British pound, all the bullshit. And Kyle Bass is basically speaking to that. He's talking about how they're trying to make 10,000 euro caps. Absolute bullshit. The UK is falling apart. Not only that, but we've got GB News here talking about how the Labour Party has mentioned a bunch of times that, oh, hey, we're having to release violent criminals and sex offenders from our prisons because they're full. But 3 of the prisons that are like some of the biggest and in some of the worst areas are half fucking empty. And the cells are gathering dust. So it's a lie. So there's a deliberate, horrific things going on here. Vince Dow, fact check. Trump is actually carrying out the largest deportation in history. The claim that he's deporting less than Obama is a lie. The vast majority of Obama's deportations were returns, which were people simply turned away at the border. This is different from removals, which are actual domestic deportations of people already living here. It's a lot harder of a job, is what he's saying, and we're kicking ass. 527,000 removals. This is a great pace. If you look over here, and that's before the year is done. If you look over here, 2009 to 16, nothing like that. Again, these are rejections at the border. It's not literally shipping these motherfuckers out from inside of the country after you get yelled at by some fucking Karen, okay? And again, the numbers are nowhere close to what we're doing right now. You can see 88, you can see the 90s, you can see all the way up to 2009. And I don't know if we don't have a better, we're missing some gaps in data here. But this is showing that Trump is doing the right stuff. And again, we're accelerating into that. On top of that, we're catching spies. Linda Sun, a former aide to Kathy Hochul, and a Chinese spy, received $18.1 million from the Chinese government. So again, we're not trying to embed spies. We're still working. We might have some Chinese students that are coming into our country that we're going to monitor very closely and that we're going to work to try and get to stay here and give incentives to stay in this country and to love America and stay the fuck away from China, which they have a massive incentive to do because China's falling apart. So we need to embrace those people. We need to turn them towards capitalism. We need to get them to love this country. We need to monitor the fuck out of them. And we need to deport people like this, imprison people like this, but deport other people that might be a threat. But $18.1 million. She had a $3.6 million main mansion, a $1.9 million condo, a Ferrari, and in exchange for New York State policy and bringing it to China's favor and all the DEI bullshit and all this other stuff. Palmer Luckey on H-1B visas. Let's just listen to this. Again, everybody's shitting on Trump, but what's the reality?
Of course, there's so much H-1B abuse. You would not believe what I saw when I was in Silicon Valley. It is insane. It's obviously a program to try and replace U.S. workers with basically slave labor that can't ever escape. H-1B abuse is.
And again, Trump is fixing that. We saw how other people that had H-1B visas were able to get loans and do a lot of other things and have benefits that they shouldn't have. We're getting rid of that. And they're going to revamp the entire program. So don't worry about little snippets that people pull out to try and hurt Trump. Breaking, it's been revealed that North Carolina DMV has registered an unknown number of non-citizens to vote in elections. Again, we're catching people doing this. And we're going after them. We also, North Carolina is going to have the guard going out there too, guys. So we're fixing what's going on in these cities. We're building a case for the Department of Justice to be able to make it to where we're more powerful and we have the ability to hopefully, even without the end of a filibuster, be able to make it to where we're requiring IDs and that there's no mail-in voting. The Supreme Court's going to be deciding on mail-in voting soon, guys. We've got to talk about that. Breaking, Trump set to announce a plan that would allow oil drilling off the coast of California. You can bet Gavin Newsom and his state are going to sue the fuck out of Trump. But we're going to start using all of our energy and resources to enrich our nation. And the time is now, and we're doing it. Ian, the Trump administration is now requiring SNAP recipients to prove they are actively searching for a job to receive benefits. This is good. Just like if you're getting unemployment, you should be required to show that you're working towards that. And if you're not doing that, I think, guys, there's probably a lot of fraud still in the system. The act of just doing this and requiring people to log into a portal like they do with the unemployment and then fill out who they applied for and make it to where people can verify that. You could use automated systems to verify that. I think that's going to kill a lot of payments that shouldn't be out there anyway to begin with. And not all immigrants are bad. And this guy I'm going to use as a reference for that. He's going to talk for 1 minute here. We're going to speed it up just a hair, though. But again, not all immigrants are bad. We can't act like all immigration is bad. We need to, if you're a fucking patriot who loves this country and wants to be here, and you're brilliant, you're hardworking, give these people a fucking place in this country. It's the one that have completely different values and want to destroy us. They're the ones that can fuck off. Loss on crypto. Oh, shit. The ASST and similar merger vote ends today. All right, let's listen.
So I'm an immigrant. I came from another country where life wasn't so good. See, this is why you should appreciate this country so much. I came from Ecuador the legal way, paid my time, paid my money to get the status, joined the military to get a citizenship. Now there's people whining and complaining about this. Again, I'm a legal immigrant. And if you do nothing wrong, you follow the law, you came here legally, nothing's gonna happen. So that's it. This is what freedom looks like. Being able to just walk without being persecuted, without having the cartel on your ass, without having gangs on your ass. See, other countries, you don't have that freedom. As I continue to complain about this country, they've never lived anywhere else. People have never stepped a foot outside the United States. That's why they feel entitled. But if they went to the countries where we came from, they would understand and see that life over there is not so good. So that's why those that came here the legal way, yes, ISIS is doing their job. People are trying to jump on the line, but it doesn't work that way.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Well said, brother. Well said. Breaking, the Department of Justice has formally notified University of Berkeley they're launching a full investigation into the university after they failed to protect conservatives attending TPUSA's event last night. We'll go into some of that in a second. It's pretty fucked up. In the UK, again, I want to compare and contrast us to other countries because you need to understand what's happening with them and what's happening with us. Right now, Bitcoin is sitting at about 104, so it's pulling back a little bit right now. I don't think there's any real news. I think we're just kind of waking up, probably closing a CME gap, and then we're going to launch into the afternoon, especially, I think once we end up passing the reopening, I think that's the big time where we really take off. So right now, it's just chop. Basil the Great said 80% of sex offenders in Birmingham had foreign names, 70% in Bradford. So we know what the problem is. We know that the jails and prisons are not full. We know that we're deliberately putting these back into the street and allowing these people to do horrible things. In Spain, one woman was raped and tortured, literally with a torch, and stabbed in the eye and had all these things happen to her by a group of men for a fucking week. And guess how many of them were named Mohammed? Fuck that shit. We're going to fix it. David Medina. Governor Tina Kotek has officially signed into law the largest tax increase in the history of Oregon. I don't know how many of you know this, but there are people in Oregon on the right-hand side of the state, actually the majority of it, that want to fucking exit and become Eastern Oregon. That same thing exists in California. That same thing exists in California, and they're fucking these people. So imagine... The narrative right now is that, oh, Trump's doing bad, Democrats are getting strong, look what happened in New York. New York is a shithole. Who gives a fuck about New York? New York's making really bad decisions because they imported 1.5-ish million illegal immigrants. There's 1.1 million illegal immigrants or undocumented people, whatever the fuck you want to call them, that are sitting inside of New York City. And they can probably vote because that's how things work in these sanctuary cities. So ignore that. This is what the reality is. The reality is that these guys are taxing the shit out of their people. They're causing the money to want to fucking leave. They're going to destroy New York over the next couple of years. And they're going to increase the bull case for all the cities that will have the crime cleaned up because of Trump. People will change their minds about Trump. All the places where they're getting more money, where they're seeing energy costs going down, the narrative is going to hurt when housing becomes more affordable, when there's more jobs available to them, when wages are going up. That's what's really going to shift the elections in 2026. Mark my words. I said this should not be allowed. I won't go into great detail. It's basically Muslim communities, Muslim-only communities in the state of Texas, so that they can start taking over and getting into government. None of this should be allowed. Muslims should not be allowed to be able to create 75% service fees for communities, sell the houses for cheap, create huge fees that goes back to the mosque. What kind of fucking non-Muslim person is going to want to pay that fee and live around a bunch of Muslims? I certainly am not. This is their way of taking over and segregating themselves from the people they don't want to be around. It's fucked up. It's un-American. Make that shit go away. And we're going to. Kevin Hassett, the illegal who opened a fire on ICE agents in Chicago over the weekend before fleeing, has now been arrested. Good. We need more of that. Sky News. Bill Ackman is telling Trump, this guy was a liberal, guys. He's telling Trump, hey, you should go ahead and sue Sky News too, on top of the BBC, because they're posting shit that's unfair and basically defaming you. I love that. We got Treasury Secretary Buffett meeting with Saudi Arabia. Guys, did you know that last week we had our FBI director, Kash Patel, meeting with the Chinese government? We've got a lot of things going on behind the scenes that historically wouldn't have happened, and they wouldn't have happened with the brilliant people that we have today. This is great. Following El Salvador's steps, Ecuador has now transferred 300 high-level inmates to their new maximum security prison. So again, we've got Central and South America getting cleaned up in real time. All these countries are starting to shift to the right. That's going to be a wave. We got El Salvador, we got Argentina, we got Ecuador, we've got Bolivia. We've got just a bunch of countries that are starting to flip. I think Chile's going to flip. There's a bunch of them that are going to flip. And imagine if Venezuela gets taken over too, or again, Colombia leans to the right and they start helping us with Venezuela and other problems there. Things are going to get really good. Downward pressure on energy prices is good. I don't like this guy in regard to solar and batteries, but I think that stance is going to change. Again, Trump actually recommended Elon's pick for NASA. He's willing. He changed his mind on H-1B visas in a very public way, angering his MAGA base. I think that same thing's going to happen here with solar and batteries.
We're going to continue to see a downward pressure on energy prices because of abundance, because of the increase in supply that's coming out, because President Trump accelerating permitting, cutting red tape, all the things that we're doing as a whole of government as part of President Trump's agenda of energy dominance, that dominance to be able to, again, have the ability to drive prices down. When you lower the price of energy, then you lower the price of everything.
I've been saying this for years. I'm so glad we're doing it. Lost on Crypto said September 22nd was the merger press release. October 10th were the S4 SEC filings completed. On November 12th, the final shareholder vote to finalize the announcement for the similar scientific deal. Thank you, Grok, for the assistance. Thank you, sir. Right now, ASST is up 1.1%. BMNR is up 2.9%. Smarter Web's up 4%. Metaplanet's up, let's see, in the U.S., what are they up? 3.4%. That's beautiful. Yossi's down 2.65%. Tesla's down 1%. Iron is down 0.64%. MicroStrategy's up 1%. CleanSpark's down 0.5%. So again, the miner's not doing so well. Bitcoin Treasury companies starting to excel. That's kind of a good thing. Not so much ASST. ASST still getting pulled down by the price. Again, I might shift some of my positioning on that to wait for some kind of breakout. We'll see. I'm still going to keep a decent chunk in there. That's going to be a decent high piece, but of my portfolio. But I will show you guys out. If you're a subscriber, I'll let you know what's going on. Yeah, he's a problem, but I think they're going to switch stance on all this stuff. Nick Sorter, Supreme Court sides with Trump, puts SNAP payments on hold. So again, that never happened. The SNAP payments that the Democrats said were trying to push didn't happen. Another win for Trump. Just keeps winning. Supreme Court will now decide on banning mail-in voting from being counted in multiple states if received after Election Day. It's a start. It's not changing it, but it's making it to where it can only happen. You can't do these huge counts that California and these other states are doing, where they count for like 12 days or whatever it is, and then eventually those numbers come in line that allow them to be able to win a bunch of seats. That shit won't be happening anymore. Mexican president, who gives a fuck what this bitch has to say? They've erected an armored wall outside of the presidential palace in anticipation of a large protest. People are protesting because they don't like the drug cartels running everything in their country and think this woman is a corrupt bitch. And she is. Another country to fix. Mass deportations. The Trump administration is considering a bounty hunter program to locate and apprehend illegal aliens. Bounty hunters would receive rewards for successful captures per federal contracting site. I think this is good. We want to have as many of these guys picked up, taken out for as cheap as we possibly can. Fucking do it. Make it happen. Breaking. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has launched an investigation into potential fraud involving $9 billion in federal contracts. Scott Bessent is going full Doge. Love it. Again, we're winning. We're going after stuff. This is the guy that they beat down. So they beat this guy down, guys, later in here. A Muslim named Jihad stole his fucking silver cross necklace, and they beat this guy down and bloodied him, and then started screaming, "Hey, you white bastard! Like you're bleeding, you bitch." Do you think these guys are gonna win? These guys are all pro-censorship. They don't want America to be free. They don't want people to have a voice. Fuck them. They're going to lose. We also have Trump going after J.P. Morgan while coordinating with Jack Smith and Biden's Department of Justice Operation Arctic Frost. J.P. Morgan debanked the federal or Florida-based Trump media group, harming the company just before it went public. So he's gonna hurt J.P. Morgan and say, "Bitch, this is what you get when you debank us because your liberal buddies tell us you have to." And they didn't just do it to these guys; they did it to crypto too. We're gonna make people hurt. Sawyer, how many cups of coffee have you had this morning, Jesse? I think one. Speaker Johnson, I'm just fired up. We don't need to talk about that. Bring the guard and lock them all up. This is Chicago. This man stabbed a 27-year-old woman just for the fuck of it. We're going to fix that. Crime is down, though, in Chicago, guys. It's down a lot. And so that's good. We're making progress. And again, you don't see you see the headlines when people are blocking and fighting with the feds and ICE and all these other guys in the Border Patrol. But what you don't see is that things are actually going all right. And that we're making a lot of progress and headway. You don't see that as much. They don't talk about that as much. Let me see if there's anything else. Sometimes these things get bounced around. Again, Trump sending DHS, or Department of Homeland Security, sending Border Patrol agents to Charlotte, North Carolina. I love that. And then again, Bolivia, the right-wing president, first thing he did was pull off all the socialist bullshit from their flag and turn themselves into a right-wing government, because that's what's happening again. It says, once again, the Supreme Court rules in favor of Trump, a huge win for the POTUS. Supreme Court lets Trump administration end use of X-gender marking on passports. We also have, guys, because of Trump winning the election, we have the Olympics removing men from women's sports. We have this guy talking about immigration, and she talks about it too. Let's listen.
A lot of people are surprised at your position on H-1B visas.
20%. Not so much with that piece of shit who stabbed that fucking 27-year-old woman, but this is great. Oh, we died? We froze? Oh, okay, we're back? We're back? I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't have any alerts on my end, so I don't know why that happened. Weird. Okay, refresh if you need to, guys. And again, so today we should see this ending. I wanted to talk about this too. This is crazy. The right-wing parties of the British government are insane right now. We'll look at Similar. Somebody posted on Similar loss. Look at this. 84% of the conservative and reform UK support a deportation of illegal immigrants. In the United States, it was only 77 for Trump. And then it was for Harris, it was 28% of voters supported deporting illegal immigrants. The UK is harder on that than we are. Their Labor Department, this is Keir Starmer's group, are almost what we are. The Liberal Democrats, 2/3 of them say get these fuckers out. It's really the Green Party is the only party that wants people to stay. This is nuts. This is nuts. Like, we're going to see, I think we're going to see the UK switch. And again, we're catching the bad guys everywhere. We're catching them in Hawaii. There's just all these posts, guys. We're doing so much to try and make things better in the United States. We're making progress. Look at this. In a bombshell revelation, Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey diverted almost $100 million in taxpayer funds to give illegal immigrants families $30,000 in housing over 2 years, $4,000 in monthly EBT assistance. Imagine that amount of money. Imagine being a veteran on the street, fucking homeless with a drug addiction because you're doing fentanyl because the Chinese are trying to make this the great opium crisis, and you don't get shit. But you see immigrants coming into your fucking city getting $15,000 home allowances and housing, $4,000 in monthly EBT cash assistance, and $500 in food aid. Why do you need food aid if you have EBT? Free healthcare and free cable. Can you imagine that? Again, we're killing contracts with Doge. I just want you guys to remember we're doing a lot of really good things. Don't give up, please. Let's listen real quickly. We're going to refresh. We're going to see if there's any new videos from FS Insight. We're going to stick around just a little bit today, okay? We're going to have a little bit of fun. Let's see what all we got here. We got earnings. Again, we don't have anything, I think, from Tom Lee recently, but we do have this. Let's go. And what are you guys talking about? Let's see. Similar here. I'll hit this in a second. For similar shareholders, approval requires a majority vote at a special meeting. However, as of November 12th, 2025, no specific date has been publicly announced for scheduled for this final. He said voting, the Form S-4 registration statement, which includes proxy statement, prospectus for similar shareholders, was filed on October 10th, but remains preliminary and has not been declared. He said the process may be delayed by a shareholder lawsuit on October. Oh, yeah, and that could be the shareholder lawsuit in regard to all the stuff that was going on the medical side of the business. Okay, so that could cause maybe some downside too on ASST. ASST is flat today, whereas BMNR is sitting at up 2.41%. No updates on lawsuits. So again, I think there could be some drag on ASST. Just remember that. Let's listen here.
Hey everybody, today's the 11th of November. Thanks for tuning in. This is post-market close on Tuesday. So not really much change in the S&P. Fractional gains. We did have fractional losses for NASDAQ, similar to what I wrote about last night, where we did have semiconductor index largely stalled out right near important, I think, short-term resistance and did some backing and filling. Of course, NVIDIA made its largest move in about 7 months. So logical to expect maybe we could see a little bit of stalling out, particularly with SMH right up near key resistance. Here's a chart of the S&P. I don't really make too much of this. I'm honestly still expecting that we probably get some backing and filling after the sharp 2-day move that we saw from Friday to Monday. Today was really a non-event. Really, it's what's happening outside of equities, though. When you look at the commodity space, we saw the Bloomberg Commodity Index actually break out to the highest levels we've seen since 2023. This is very meaningful, and if anything, this does bode well, I think, for commodities heading into 2026. So we had a long, flat base. It's held about 2 years. This is a composition of many different things. It's not completely energy dominated. Energy, at least with regards to WTI and Brent and some of the gasoline products, is about 12%. We do have gold at about 15% and natty gas at about 10%. So although it's heavily, to some extent combining natty gas and crude is about 25%, we still have a very meaningful move in commodities that's happening now. And my thinking is that likely can carry higher. Crude oil in particular did make, a short-term breakout today. We already had seen a similar move out of OIH, of course, in recent days. I'll show you that chart again today. So this also broke out above October highs. So this is really the highest levels we've seen since early 2025, earlier this year. I think this probably does get to 305, 310. It is getting a little late in the game, and if anything, energy, as we near sort of the highs of this former range, it's really held for the majority since 2024. I think that likely is going to provide a pretty solid ceiling to this move in energy. But for the time being, it's got a lot of momentum. We're seeing not only gains in natty gas, but now a short-term breakout in crude. I think that is positive. We're seeing OIH push up. And so a lot of different parts of energy right now working. And I think in the near term, this can still persist over the next few days and probably the next week before we hit pretty solid resistance. Here's a move in crude. I think it probably challenges late September highs, and then we reverse and turn down. Even if we turn down, I think the commodity space in the next couple of weeks is probably going to have some decent continuation as a result of that. I didn't talk about it in today's note, but we did have a very meaningful long-term breakout that's now happened in things like, Brazil and ILF as well. So this is a really, really interesting part of the world, of course. And
this is
given
cool.
The commodities are working well, you would expect that we'd see decent strength out of this, regardless of
seeing strength in Latin America is a really good sign.
The government. But, great move, I think. And, in the short term, I give this another few weeks. I think we'll probably consolidate here also. And then thereafter, this is a 15-year breakout. So I would really look to buy all dips here and think that this is probably going to continue to strengthen. Finally, just important to mention what's happening in the pharmaceutical space. We've seen a really bullish move in pharma just largely in the last few weeks. We saw it really starting in the beginning part of October with a big breakout of the trend since last August. Huge move above this trend line. We consolidated, now pushing up aggressively the last couple of days. So this is the highest move really since last fall. So very positive overall. We're also seeing biotech. Biotech really kicked this thing off along with many of the medical devices. And so really tough to go wrong in the short run. Even the health insurers, which were thought to be an area of weakness, just given that the ACA subsidies were that was a specific holdout, for the government reopening. I like healthcare between now and end of November. Bigger picture, though, the sector still is in really a large downtrend for the last couple of years. So in both cases of healthcare and energy, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday, I think it is a case of mean reversion, and both of these probably show some short-term strength. Meanwhile, technology is last couple of days, we've seen a little bit of consolidation there, at least in the semis, outside of NVIDIA's move. So definitely some rotation. Important to see some broad-based strength. We haven't really seen that yet. So for now, you have to sort of follow the strength and just keep a close eye on S&P. I do not suspect even on consolidation we would take out October lows, so that should be important. And we'll talk more tomorrow. I assume we'll get some further details on maybe the timing of this, of all the votes and everything in terms of when the government can be reopened. I would think that's a positive, but everybody's saying the same thing. And we had one of the largest two-day moves we've seen in some.
What I love that he's saying here is that we're seeing emerging markets. We're seeing like medical devices, ETFs. We're seeing things that are breaking out again, ARCG. We're seeing things that are getting ready to maybe indicate market breadth and rollover from gold and rollover from the Mag 7 and these other things that are really highly valued. So I think if you chase the things that have run really hard, you might be hurting a little bit in the future. Maybe keep that in mind as well.
Time. So I'm banking on a little bit of consolidation first before I want to buy that dip, and we'll see if that happens between now and end of week. Thanks much. Have a great day.
All right, good stuff. I think I am probably done on that note, guys. So again, I think when we get their government reopening, we should be good and we should start to really pop. And I do think that we're going to still see what Tom Lee's talking about. We're going to see acceleration into the end of the year. All the smartest people I listen to are saying the exact same thing. All the technical indicators in it, all of the fundamental things that we're doing in our economy after the reopening. Again, if we've had bad data that happened over the last month plus, that will just look like, oh, okay, well, it's behind us. We know what the Fed's going to do. We've already, again, kind of back tested a little bit here recently into the shutdown, which normally isn't really a thing. And we bounced off of that. And technically, we look good on all levels. And I think that it's time for Bitcoin to do well. I don't know about altcoins. Maybe Ethereum and Solana can still do well. I don't feel good about the rest of them. I think altcoins can continue to suffer. People are going to look towards the real world and the real economy, and they're going to want to make investments and money off of that. Again, we can't assume that it's just going to melt up and everything will be okay and it'll keep melting up forever. So if we do make a lot of money between now and the end of the year, it's going to be smart to de-risk, and that's going to be my focus. It's not going to be greed. I've been greedy too much this last year and setting deadlines of like trying to get out early with options. I didn't give myself enough time. And so I created a lot of problems with that. Again, MicroStrategy, the Bitcoin treasuries, the miners, tons of areas of underperformance. But I still think that there's at least 7 million, 12 million in my future by the end of the year that I can hit in regard to gains. And I'm going to be getting more conservative the higher I get, because I think that's going to be a good decision. I think being a little more Warren Buffett-y, especially if we melt up into the end of the year, is going to be a good idea. So that's what I'm going to do. I love you guys. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I will talk.